before I did Sports Talk Radio, when I was out east, I would listen to WFAN in New York.
Yep.
And Mike Francesa's show, so post Mike and the Mad Dog, so like let's say 10 years ago, his show was 1:30 p.m. until Devils hockey at 6:55. No joke. And if the Devils had a 5-minute pregame, because his show was so dominant.
Oh my god.
That it's like he went from 1:30 to either 7 or 1:30 until 6:55. And it's Mike Francesa though. He's probably making like $4 million doing the show.
But it doesn't matter. I think you can take that theme and go till 6:55.
You like that?
I think Kansas and Houston tonight go till their halftime, and then they'll pick up the second half.
Oh, you know what it's like? Because you are very similar to me.
Okay.
Because you do a lot of work, for example, on YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when I'm on YouTube or when I've been doing this radio show ever since Jim bailed, I do a lot of talking to myself. You know what I mean? Like, don't you sense that a lot? Like, and aren't you like kind of a, first of all, I mean, there's some benefit in it because it gives you that experience, but there's also some times you probably sign off after doing a show talking Lakers where you're like, what did I even talk? A, what did I talk about? And B, who was I talking? Like, it's like you're talking to the other side of your brain.
90% of my shows. No, you're right. Because you're looking at the comments. The comments is it's like you're going to go talk sports with a friend, except the friend's not there.
100%.
So where's your friend? The friend's in the comment section. Somebody's just watching you. They're like, what is this guy doing? This guy hanging out by himself. Yes, I am hanging out by myself. But yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that on YouTube, especially for that reason. Now, obviously, you and Jim do a show together, so it's different. But on a radio show, what you're doing today, what you've been doing, the 4-hour shows that you've been doing, I don't know how you do it. And listen, you've done a good job. You've brought on guests. I've heard Annie in here. You know, I've heard some different people in here. You obviously get a lot of different Brent's jumping in all the time. Sammy, but that ain't easy. That's like a long road trip every day.
Yeah, you know what it is though, and correct me if you think I'm wrong. It's like you ever get put in a situation where like I have to do it. Like you wouldn't normally. Sometimes I tell myself, I don't know if you've ever done this. Brent will laugh at this. Like Kristen, my wife, will be like, "Hey, can you open up the bless you? What are you, Jim? Perfect. This is great. This is great. It's like you're right on cue." My wife will be like, "Hey, can you open the marinara sauce?" And I like try to open it. I'm like, "I can't."
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then I tell myself, well, what if my life depended on it? So then I use like extra force.
You get it in.
And then I open it.
Yeah.
Then I'm able to. So that's basically
do you flex to her after? Do you like say,
boom?
Would you ask anybody else to do that?
No, I don't do that. But you know what I'm, so I'm like, I have
You're better off when you have no choice.
That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
There is something to
like
that.
a sink or swim mentality is like, what else
You're
are you
making
do?
it happen.
You're making it happen. It's been all good. But how are you?
I'm doing good.
You're good.
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's good to yeah, you know, it's funny. Sammy and I were going through a number of different topics. By the way, Sammy decided to throw in, he's like, hey, what do you think of the NFL Combine? He's speaking a foreign language to me. I didn't know what he was talking about.
I'm not talking to NFL Combine.
Yeah, that didn't happen. But it was fun doing the show with Sammy. How old is Sammy? He's like 23 years old. How's this kid getting this much experience?
He's doing a really good job.
Phenomenal job.
I mean, you know, it's so funny you say that. We're going all over the place. I don't know how old you are, but I'm thinking you're a similar age to me. Okay, we don't have to disclose our ages, but whatever. You're in your
43.
40s. Okay, 45. So I remember when I was 23 out of college calling minor league baseball games in Lynchburg, Virginia. I was probably doing it at 22. I graduated, and it was 9 months later. I went to Lynchburg, and I'm calling games. I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, I had never called anything in my life. I called nothing at Penn State. I knew I wanted to be a play-by-play guy. I knew all these things, but I just went to college. It was great. Got a journalism degree, but I didn't really pursue it like some people are like, I'm in college, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So I get to Lynchburg, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. I don't know how to sound. And then it's all like this mental game. Do I have to sound a certain way? Do I have to do certain, it takes time is my point.
Of course.
I remember reading a book once on broadcasting, like, in 5 years, you might have a feel for who you're going to be on air. And I'm like, 5 years? That's so much time. When you're 22, you're like, 5 years? I've never taken 5 years to do anything. And then after I went through the experience, I'm like, I actually think they were wrong. I think it takes 10. So I feel like I wasn't like who I am until I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, he's
arguably 40, right?
That dude's well ahead of schedule.
Would you agree with that? Like, it's just like there's like a challenging element.
All right, two things I was doing at 23. Number one, I think I was done at San Diego State. So by that point, I was done. And I was it's kind of interesting to hear your history in San Diego. At that time, there was a sports radio station, SD, Mighty 1090. You know that, right? Darren was there, Marty, all these people, right? I was on the sales side. I was on the sales side for a number of years.
Right. No,
so I was on the sales side. So while all that was going on, I was, trying to sling some Padre radio ads. That's what was going on. There was a home of the Padres at the time. Yeah. So definitely not paying attention to the broadcast side, even though my degree's in journalism, that's what I always wanted to do. But at that time, that's what I was doing. Yeah, some of these kids now, I look at Sammy sometimes like, how the hell are you so confident? Relax. Why are you this confident? But he's very comfortable with what he's doing. So it was fun doing the show with him.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll have a handful of minutes here because I don't want to take up your entire day. But there's two things. I mean, spring training's underway. Yep. Great. Awesome. We could touch on it. And then I don't know how closely you're following your alma mater, but I think you're closely following them. San Diego State loses this weekend. Obviously, Colorado State. They've lost 2 straight. What I have found kind of remarkable, because I remarkably found that I've been doing Aztec broadcasts as Brian Dutcher's first game as head coach, right? That was my first year in San Diego. So
really?
2017-18 season. Mm-hmm. So his tenure has coincided with my tenure. I think he's been a little more accomplished. But anyway,
you just make more than him.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So you did see that?
I saw it was out on the list. Yeah, it was a Forbes list.
But it's like, correct me if you think I'm wrong. Seriously. It's like for all the success they've had, he's made the NCAA tournament 6 consecutive years, 7 of 8 in his 9-year tenure. This is the 9th year. He's played for Sweet 16s twice in a national championship and a national championship once. Are they not? And I look at some of this vitriol, dude. I mean, you should like the stuff that is said on social media about and our text line. And listen, some of it is fair. We're in that world. I'm not telling people not to have their opinion. That is not my point.
Yep.
But when it goes too far, like these players have quit and this, this, that, and the other. I mean, that's just scratching the surface of it. I'm like, are they not afforded? This is what I'm thinking to myself without knowing what's going to happen from here on out, because they could win the Mountain West tournament. They could win their next 4 games. They might lose. We have no idea.
Sure.
So are they not afforded? They're 18-8. Can they not go 20-10 and miss the NCAA tournament? Are they not afforded that? And I get high expectations. That is a good thing. Memphis is 12-13. Marquette is like 9-19. They can't go 20-10. Like it's just a non-starter. I see this reaction. I'm pulling out my support of NIL. I'm not going to go to the game. They're not. I'm like, this is the way to react to them being 18-8 on a 2-game losing streak. Imagine if it was actually really bad. That's just my thought. How do you see it?
I think, really what it is. I think the foundation of it, it's a compliment to the program. Because the last thing that you want is there's no emotion at all.
Sure.
And no emotion means you're irrelevant, you're not good, you're not making it happen. And I think the fact that if you're getting absurd things coming your way of, let's just say hypothetically, maybe there is, I have no idea. Do I think there's truth to the players quit? No, I don't. But I think if somebody wants to create that narrative because they've created an expectation, and if this team doesn't make the tournament, I mean, I was at San Diego State from 2000 to 2005.
That's the first time they made the tournament under Fisher, but it started at what? Winless in the Mountain West?
Winless, whatever it was. Yeah. But if you would have told me, like I remember the first time they made the tournament at that time. I remember it exactly. I remember where I watched the game. I remember how excited I was.
Illinois game?
I think it was Illinois. Yeah. But I remember just kind of it was Illinois. I remember the picture of what it looked like.
Yeah.
Well, if you fast forward to today, and let's say they don't make the tournament, then I'm going to be very disappointed they didn't make the tournament. Look how vastly different those two emotions are.
Sure.
You want to be in this side. Are people going to be unreasonable? They are. Are people going to try to, this is BS, I'm pulling my money, NIL, all that stuff? Here's what I would tell you. I would tell you that if San Diego State has had this much success to where you feel as passionate and as much emotion as you do based off of what's happened this season, that's a great situation to be in. I wouldn't pull your NIL because that ain't going to help anything. But I do think that that's a beautiful thing that's where the city is. And I get where some people are coming from. And the only reason why that's the case, if I try to make a Padre comp, the Padre comp is 4 out of the last 6 years you've made the playoffs. If you don't make the playoffs this year, people will be disappointed about that. Yep. And that's all I think you can ask for if you're a San Diegan is let's be in the mix every single year. Let's have a shot. And clearly they've given themselves a shot.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good perspective on it. And I do think, though, there's this fine line. I mean, you feel it. You cover the Lakers. So the fandom towards the franchise is, is great. So people react very strongly to the results, right? I mean, obviously, if things aren't going swimmingly, people aren't like, oh, we'll get them next year. I mean, no, it's the freaking Lakers. So there's a very high expectation for the franchise. And I do think that's
but it's not, I'll give you the example for the Lakers. Yeah. It's not the same that it used to be. Maybe it will change. But since Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, I was making this argument about the Lakers. I'm like, I don't want to hear when there's a Laker conversation, but it's the Lakers. And I also don't want to hear, well, they have 17 NBA championships. They've done nothing in 13 years. They won a championship. I know that sounds
right. In Orlando.
They won a championship. Yep. Give them all the credit in the world. But if you, outside of that championship, it's not the same franchise.
Sure.
This franchise was every single year they were in the mix. That's not the case. So my expectation for that franchise has changed a bit because they're not the same team that they were these last 13 years compared to the 30 years prior to that,
right,
where they were in the finals 50% of the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Here's what I would do. You have 10 more minutes.
We're chilling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alan's going to hang out for another segment. He'll be with us until 2:30 because I haven't even fully.
Today is chess day. So I just want to, I want to let you know.
Chess today?
When I get to the gym later today, it's going to be animals coming on. Just an animal is being under.
All right. Well then, that's why I want to keep you for another 15 minutes. You don't need to go too crazy at the gym.
Yeah.
All right. Alan Sliwa in studio until 2:30. There's a lot to get to. By the way, how many pairs of tickets do we have to give away? Speaking of the Aztecs, we have not one, not two, not three, but 4 pairs of tickets to San Diego State, Utah State on Wednesday night, which, by the way, is for first place in the Mountain West. All of this, they've gone because Utah State lost Saturday as well. They were upset by Nevada. For all this, what's going on? Wednesday night is for first place. San Diego State will enter.
If they win, just out of curiosity, do they still have a shot of at large?
Yeah, I think if they were to win their last 4 regular season games, they will be sitting firmly on that bubble. But they got to beat Utah State. They got to go to New Mexico.
They got some tough games.
So they have some tough games. And again, they've lost their last 2 straight games. So we have 4 pairs of Aztec tickets to give away. Alan Slee was in studio. He's going to hang out for another 15 minutes or so. Don't go anywhere. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, tonight right here on San Diego Sports 760, Big 12 basketball. Alan was talking about this earlier. Huge game. Houston and Kansas. Number 2, Houston takes on Kansas in Lawrence. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. right after this show on San Diego Sports 760. So I don't even know where. So Alan Slee was in studio for another few minutes. Lakers talk, San Diego State alum. I've spent a lot of time on San Diego State, and I want to get to the Padres, but I think my general takeaway here was San Diego State. So they've lost 2 straight games. And this is the most important time of year where it's like your season's hanging in the balance. You're at large. How could you lose 2 straight games with your at large, chances hanging in the balance? We were just talking off air. I'm like, if anything, the way I've seen the last, 72, 96 hours play out is like they want it really badly. And that sometimes can make something challenging.
Sure.
We've talked about this before. It's like, you get on the air, if you're loose and free, it's probably easier to do a show than like, oh my gosh, this show is going to determine the fate of my career. I'm filling in for Colin Cowherd on Fox Sports National Radio. This better be the greatest thing ever. Then you're not going to have the best show of your career. When you're just
the looser you are shooting the, what.
And there's the fine line, obviously. And I can't, like anyone, it's like, you can't put I'm not a coach and I'm not a player, so I can't fully put my finger on it. But, in watching every single one of their games and just my travels and just my preparation for these games, I think if anything, what you're seeing is a team that wants it so badly, but you're playing teams that also want it. It's like, it's their Super Bowl too. When you're playing at Colorado State in front of a sellout crowd, or GCU was motivated, obviously here last week as well. So I don't know. I just think basketball is like, it's fickle. It can look really good for a day. It can look really bad for a day. Why? You know what I mean? It's like, watch the Lakers. They can look really good for a game. They can look really bad for a game. Who actually are they? And they're probably somewhere in there.
Well, I would say this. Look, there's the last 2 losses probably threw a lot of people by surprise as well. Like if you told me they won these 2 games and then they lost 2 of their last 4 games and it's more justifiable.
Because you're saying it was like Utah State or New Mexico.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more justifiable. I think the fact that they lost to Grand Canyon at home.
Yep.
The fact that they lost to Colorado State, a team that, they obviously had a big advantage of earlier in the season when they played at SCSU. I think it has more to do with that. But here's the reality. Look, wherever they're sitting today, they can learn from whatever just happened. And we're going to kind of find out who they are based off these last 4 games 100%. In that Mountain West Conference tournament. And listen, if they find a way to rally together and they find a way to get back into that tournament, I think it answers all our questions. No doubt. If it doesn't, then it's okay to have, well, why did this happen? And did the players this, or what did Dutch do something a little bit different? I think that's kind of the beauty that San Diego State has built for themselves. They are expected to make the tournament every single year. Mm-hmm. That's a position that you want to be in. The season's not over. They still have a chance to do that. And like I said, if those 2 losses that they just had have nothing to do with the next 4 games, has nothing to do with that Mountain West Conference tournament, see if they can turn it around.
Yeah, I like the way you put it, which is like, let's see where it is at the end. Of course, what you and I do for a living, you have to talk about it. I always say it with the Padres. Sure. Like sometimes we'll hear from people like, just wait until we see what happens. Like, well, I'm not afforded that opportunity. We have to react in real time. And obviously me, Jim, I'll be critical as necessary, basically. But I also think that there's sometimes like a line in there where I'm like, guys, and I've said this before, like people be like, Tatis quit, right? This very general, oh, how could Machado go 1 for 11 against the Cubs? He just quit. I'm like, no, your definition of the word quit is wrong. You may say Machado is disappointed in the postseason. Yeah. He hasn't hit in his postseason
not
career.
Clutch enough or whatever it is.
But guys, to make sweeping broad statements like that, I've always felt like that's too far. I almost feel like that's outside the white lines or outside the court. When you start questioning like
effort,
I'm like, yeah, effort. Yeah. And now I guess I'll do it if Machado doesn't run down to first, because that's something that we can actually see. But I'm like, Manny Machado didn't get in this position because he doesn't care, right? Like Manny Machado isn't on the verge of the Hall of Fame just because he goes through the motions or he doesn't want to win. Now we can be critical sometimes. If he's 2 for 29, he's 2 for 29. That speaks for itself. I don't know. It's a fine line.
No, I could tell that that conversation about San Diego State basketball I could tell, especially if what's the narrative then? So is the narrative right now that these guys don't want to win? Is the narrative right now? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that if anybody out there thinks that these San Diego State basketball players, they don't want to win the tournament or they have something bigger in mind for after, you're in today anyways. What's going to help your own stock for whatever it is that you're going to do in your future as far as these individual athletes is by making that tournament, is by making a name for yourself in that tournament. But I think people truly, truly live by the moment. They live by the game. They live by the day. And a lot of times, a lot of these emotions, it's not, what do they say? It's like if you wait till tomorrow to send that email, or wait till when your emotion, there's an emotion to something. It's like, wait till the morning, or if you want to call that person, if you still feel the same way by the morning to make that call, then you're supposed to. I think a lot of the times there's just that instant reaction where everybody wants some kind of change.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a long way of me for the last 20 minutes, and I appreciate you doing it with me. I'm kind of just venting my thoughts about how this is playing out because I'm consumed by it all. Calling the games, people text me about the games.
Of course,
I see our text line. I see social media. To your point, it's way better than the opposite. The apathy, the idea of 1,500 people in the building, or nobody cares. Like that's 1,000 times worse. I would say let's now see it through.
They got to deliver now. Here's the truth. They really for the city of San Diego, and I think a lot of people that watch college basketball, San Diego State's name's got a very nice ring to it. It's like, well, it's San Diego State basketball. Yeah, they're in the mix every single, whatever the case is. If they don't deliver, then it will take a little bit of it will, and it happens, but the name will be up. San Diego State didn't make the tournament this year. That obviously hurts a little bit of the strength that they have. They got 4 games to figure it out in the Mountain West Conference tournament.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. All of it's still in front of them here with about 3 weeks to go. We've got Aztec tickets we'll give away. We're going to give away a pair of tickets for Wednesday's game against Utah State coming up this hour. Spring training underway. Is there anything before you roll here? Is there anything overly? I mean, it's on right now. We're watching Padres and Brewers. Anything that has stuck out the first 3 or 4 days in general from spring training? For me, it's about health. Yeah, get out of spring training healthy. I'm not going to get enamored with the numbers. To me, it's about just get out of spring training healthy. Yeah, they're down 5-1. I think it's a must win tonight. Like personally for me, yesterday. Right. So I think you're all ready. No, I have a very difficult time thinking, spring training is truly, it's stay healthy, try to get into some kind of flow. That's all that matters. And then when we get to, obviously regular season and it's time, we're all going to be as critical as we possibly can be. It is a 162 game grind. But spring training, to me, it's very difficult. If you see a guy hit a couple home runs, it's like, all right, great, but it's spring training. If you see a guy come out and he's awful from the bullpen, okay, but it's spring training. So I don't think you could take all that much from it. I think the bigger picture for the Padres, I was telling Sammy today, I don't know if you think there's some similarities here. I almost feel similar to how I did walking into last season. It's like, I'm not 100% sure what the product's going to look like. Sure. The overall goal is, can you be second in the NL West? Can you be in front of the Diamondbacks? Can you be in front of the Giants? And can you find a way to make the playoffs? That's how I felt last year. I kind of have a similar feeling walking into this season. I don't know how much that feeling has changed for you, but it's not that much different for me. I agree. We've been making a lot of 20, 25, 26 comps, and I would agree that I feel similarly. I do want to talk on the other side about Fernando Tatis Jr., what may change potentially for Tatis in 2026. Alan, my friend. Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Good stuff, buddy. Great seeing you. Alan Sliwa, again, San Diego State grad. You can check him out with his Lakers talk as well with Alan Sliwa. Sammy Long's going to swing by in studio as well on the other side. We're giving away Aztec tickets for that critical game against Utah State on Wednesday right here on San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. The Winter Olympics are now done. The final medal count is done, and Norway was the champs. They took home a total of 41 medals. The United States and Italy finished second and third respectively with 33 and 30 medals. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to put the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts. And in say it's not so news, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. are set to fight again at the Sphere in Las Vegas on September 19th on Netflix. Mayweather is going to turn 49 years old in February. Pacquiao is 47. And the last time they fought, say it with me, folks, was way back in 2015. Taco Bell's new Luxe Value menu has 10 lavish indulgences, all $3 or less. It's easy to get carried away, like when you try the new mini taco salad. You might ask, do I need a salad fork? The fork is in the bag. Fine. Luxe Value menu at participating location. Extra.
San Diego Sports 760. Sammy Long now in studio. A little bit of a revolving door. Good to have Alan Slewa with us here.
I'm back.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, boys.
All right, I have an amazing. So, okay, Sammy's going to hang out. Let me reset things for a second because it was great to have Alan here. I just wanted to talk to him.
You guys sounded fantastic, by the way, the first 30 minutes.
It was fun. It was great to see him. So, we have Aztec tickets we're going to give away every hour for Wednesday night. It's a huge game. We don't need to touch more on the Aztecs right now, but we will. I promise you that. Kevin Acey's on the show at 4. So Kevin will be here live. We'll talk about the first 4 games from Padres spring training coming up at 4 p.m. What do you got, Brent?
And we have 9 Inch Nails tickets.
Ooh.
And we have tennis because we have PNB.
I saw there's a million things on the rundown. Okay, so we have a ton of. Then you know what? Then this is what we're going to do. This segment, we're giving away San Diego State, Utah State tickets. That's happening in the next 10 minutes. Do not go anywhere. It's a game for first place. Despite the 2-game losing streak, first place is on the line Wednesday night at VA House Arena. Listen to my weekend, Sammy. Okay?
Let's hear it.
Brent doesn't even know this. And nobody knows this here. So I'm flying home on Saturday night. I'm not going to refer to the airline, but on like
we can take an
a budget carrier. Right? And it has nothing to do with it, honestly. That doesn't have anything to do with it. But
it adds to the experience, though.
The reason I say that is I had to like check more bags because you know how it is on some of these carriers. Like to bring a bag on the plane, it's like $79. But if you check it, it's $49. Your seat's $1, but a glass of water is $100. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I hadn't had to do it all season, but I'll just check the equipment. That's where the story gets problematic. So yeah, Brent's looking at me like, whoa. So radio equipment, let's take people behind the curtain. It's between $5,000 and $10,000. I mean, because who has radio equipment?
Right.
Because so when they sell these units, they're not selling them to, it's not a mom and pop like an iPhone. Everyone's got an iPhone. They don't sell them for $5,000. So everyone's got an iPhone, but radio equipment, who buys it? So this stuff's expensive. It's like $5,000. The headsets, all this stuff, it's expensive. So I put the stuff underneath, and I'm walking through Denver Airport, and you know me. Here's what I'm thinking. So I check the equipment. All right, no big deal. I'm walking through Denver Airport. I'm about to get like an acai bowl, and it pops into my head. There's a lithium battery in with the equipment. And I just acknowledged no lithium, no firearm, no this, no that. You know what I mean? Like on the little like self-check.
Right. You never think it applies to you.
I could have just taken the battery out and put it in my carry-on because it is allowed in a carry-on.
But now you've hidden something, John Schaefer.
And I'm at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to be responsible for the 200 people on this plane. You know what I mean? So the first thing I do is I Google, what do? I just check the lithium battery. Who do I contact? Like, go to the gate attendant. And I'm like, I just checked the lithium battery. They're like, what? Why'd you do that? I'm like, well, I didn't mean to. That's why I'm telling you. So like, no problem. We'll notify like the baggage handlers. They'll get the lithium battery out of your equipment and the rest of the equipment can carry on. I'm like, fine. It's just a battery. Like, the battery is replaceable, but I cannot replace this equipment. It's like, come on. Oh, here's the other problem. They're like, what's your bag tag number? I'm like, oh, I threw that out. They're like, you threw out the bag tag that you got 5 minutes ago.
Because why would you carry it? Like, that's right, exactly.
Like, you guys should know. So then they look me up. Like, the woman's like, I'll find you in 30 minutes. all good. You all good. So I find her 30 minutes later. Where'd you go? Did you leave here?
My camera glitched out, but I'm in the thing if you want to add me.
Sure. Okay. So she's like, no problem. The equipment's fine. I get on the plane. As the plane is taking off, I'm reading a voicemail. It went straight to voice. Hey, it's Bob from Budget
Budget
baggage.
Airlines.
Budget baggage. Your plane's not going to make it on this flight. There's a lithium battery. I'm like, yeah, I know. No. I just told you. So here we are. I land at midnight, Saturday night. I get to the baggage carousel. No equipment. No bag tag. No clue. I couldn't call this number back. I tried calling the voicemail number back. No, it doesn't exist, the number. So I'm like, what do I even do? I'm freaking out. So I call Frontier at 2 a.m. I call the airline at 2 a.m. It was a good experience. It ends up
John, it's okay. Everyone knew who you were talking. There was only 2 airlines that was in question.
Okay. You're going to be better off if they put you on the no-fly list for this airline.
No,
so you're not missing out.
But so here's the thing.
We're not built for that airline.
Here's the thing. Now I'm going to give Frontier was actually incredible in this process after the fact. So I called it like 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm not going to get anyone. I talked to someone and they're like, fill out this form, yada, yada, yada. Here's your bag tag number, even though you didn't have it.
And this is what time? This is Saturday morning?
2 a.m. now, Saturday into Sunday. I'm freaking out. I'm in my garage, in my car, on the phone with Frontier. And they're like, yeah, just fill this out and someone will like reach out to you. I'm like, oh my gosh. So a long story short, they ended up calling me last night. They're like, yo, we have your bag. It can't travel because of the lithium battery. I'm like, I know. Take the lithium battery out. Let the rest go through. Like, well, we don't know if we can do that because you got to go in your bag. I'm like, please.
Right. You're like,
I'm like, it's for the
look up my social media. I am a play-by-play voice.
I said it says property of iHeartMedia on the outside. It's so they did. They got approval to do it. And then this morning it arrived. Like, we can deliver it to your house or you can come pick it up. I'm like, I'll pick it up. Because I don't want. So I went to the airport this morning and I was able to pick it up. I told the woman the whole story. I was so relieved. I opened it up and there's the radio equipment. So anyway, it's a long way to say, because Brent, I don't know what I would have done. If at 9 a.m. would have rolled around today and I hadn't heard from the airline and I didn't have the equipment, I'm obviously calling my bosses and be like, I had to check this bag. But then they took. So anyway,
can I tell you, this story does not match up to that. But there's a reason why I don't go to events in Fresno, California. Not that I live in Fresno.
You had to engineer that one game in Fresno, right?
Yeah. So before you were, I believe, doing the
pre-half and post.
Pre-half and post. Okay.
You engineered for Ted one.
For Ted. Okay. We walk in. My buddy and I take the equipment. The bosses were like, do you want to drive up to Fresno? A little day trip.
Yeah, did you drive or fly?
We drove. Okay. So we drove 6 hours. Get up there. We walk in and keep in mind this box is entirely black. Okay. It's a black box that looks like something the FBI or someone would carry.
Right.
We walk in the security before everyone's there. The security of Fresno literally goes, come on through. I go, you don't want to check the big black box full that weighs 80 pounds full of equipment? No, they're like, you're good. I was like, anyone could have walked in here with anything.
Right.
I'm like, I'm almost like, I found myself nervous. I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of worried. Like, I don't have bad intentions, but like, what is happening with this box?
Right, you almost wanted it to be checked.
Yeah, I wanted this to be checked, but yeah, radio equipment
it's funny. I thought you were going to tell me you checked your bag. I thought you were going to say when you flew to Fresno, because I am a stickler for this. When I travel, I'm like, I can't be separated from this equipment because what if the equipment actually is lost?
Right. Then
then you can't do the game. So there have been a couple times this year on Southwest where as you board by the group like ABC, where I've been in C, and by the time they get to me, they're like, oh, that's got to be checked because like the overhead is filled, but they do the curbside check. So I'm just assuming they're literally taking it from the side of the plane and putting it under the plane. I'm like, whatever, I have no choice. But this was one of those where, if you would have seen my blood pressure probably Saturday
I bet.
Overnight into Sunday, I don't know what it was.
And it was already high.
It was already high. Like the Aztecs lose at Colorado State.
Dentist.
I'm doing like 400 hours of radio. You know what I mean?
This is the last thing you needed was to lose the box.
They almost would have had to like turn this plane around because I was going to have a heart attack. You know what I mean?
You're like, I am not leaving the box. Medically, this is not going to let it happen.
So anyway, it's an all's well that ends well. kind of story because I have the equipment.
I think it was a little bit, maybe a bit of an indictment of how the weekend went for basketball wise and for.
It's so funny because we landed and I'm like, nobody knew this story. I tried to kind of keep this team away or the story away from the team. So like we're in Denver. I was like, hey, I might be the reason our plane's going to be delayed because they're going to have to get my luggage off this plane because of my battery. But it was fine. There was no delay or anything. But then when we landed and I was telling the story and everyone was like laughing. Like, are you serious? Like this is the most true. And then the kicker, here's the kicker. The kicker is I didn't even need to check the bag. I'm looking at other people with San Diego State that do like digital media and social media. I'm like, how did you get your Pelican case that's identical to mine? I'm like, we just brought it through security and put it on the plane. I'm like, what? So I didn't even need to do it.
People on the text line YouTube chat are filing in with comments on certain airlines. Which airlines are better than others?
Listen, we landed safely and I got the equipment back, so it's all good. All right. We're giving away, I promise you Aztec tickets. Call right now. This is our first pair we're giving away for an Aztec fan. San Diego State, Utah State on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. with first place on the line. Caller 8, you're going. We have 2 free tickets. Get there Wednesday night. 877-767-4760. Call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs take on Utah State, a battle for first place in the Mountain West, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Caller 8, you're going. 877-767-4760. More with Sammy Long in studio. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760, John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Brent Sperry as well. Sammy's going to hang out until 4 p.m. Kevin Acey will join us at 4 from Peoria, where the Padres are looking to avoid another loss. They're losing right now to the Brewers, lost yesterday to the Dodgers. Doesn't matter, but they're losing right now.
Sell the team.
5-1.
Oh, wait.
Well, they are. They're trying to sell the team. Okay, a couple of things. I don't know if anyone saw this, but over the weekend, there was all this discussion about where Fernando Tatis Jr. should be batting the order. Because a year ago, primarily, he batted leadoff, right? Not solely, but primarily he batted leadoff. And of course, the job of a leadoff hitter is different than the job of a cleanup hitter, right? Like the idea that he would just kind of stumble into 40 home runs as a leadoff hitter, like that's maybe a little wishful. Why can't the new baseball reference is all weird? So anyway, here's my point. So a year ago, leading off. Just trying to find this. This isn't the greatest radio, but I'm going to find it.
I think though, when you find that, even if you look up north to the Dodgers had the same problem, and people kind of forget, so it doesn't really get talked about a lot. And Mookie Betts, when Shohei Ohtani first joined the team, was leadoff, and right. Shohei was too. And there was kind of a thought of, because Shohei's more of a power hitter, it makes more sense for him to be farther down the lineup. And then they just kind of thought when Mookie Betts got hurt and he was having such success as a leadoff hitter that 1 month in July, he was on an absolute tear. Get your best hitter up as many times as possible.
Right.
And I think that's kind of a similar conversation with Tatis and Merrill, whoever you're going to put there, is yes, theoretically, does it make more sense if last year Luis Ariz is batting leadoff, or Jackson Merrill, a guy who, although has power, you want Tatis ideally up with runners on? Are we overthinking it a little bit when it comes to batting orders? It's like, hey, if Tatis has he's the best player on the team, he has the most chances to come up and bat as many times as possible. If he's hitting leadoff, just bat him leadoff.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, and you allowed me to pull up what I was looking for as well. But that's good perspective, because here's the point. Because Tatis this weekend, basically paraphrasing, said something along the lines of, I can do everything. I'm a feared hitter. I'm capable of batting anywhere in a lineup. I'm paraphrasing. That's not word for word. But like, listen to this. A year ago, Fernando Tatis Jr. led off in every game but 5. He was their leadoff hitter. He did bat cleanup 5 times. Now, if you've looked at what Craig Stammen has done this spring, he's already batted cleanup multiple times in just a couple of games. And now I think today he might have hit third. But I'm going down a path where I think they're going to move him down in the order. And I think it's twofold in terms of why you want to do it. I think, A, potentially to protect Manny Machado, okay, which is critically important to your success or failure. So there's that. And then the other thing is the mentality of a leadoff hitter is different than the mentality of a cleanup hitter. A leadoff hitter, by and large, and to your point, yeah, you can. Some of the great hitters in modern baseball are leading off, and they're capable of doing everything because they're some of the great hitters in modern baseball. But when you're leading off, it's going to impact what your goal is at the plate. Like, you're going to see a lot of pitches. Maybe you want to reach via walk. You're just trying to set a table. Yeah, you could hit a leadoff home run.
Put pressure on immediately when the game starts.
But I think when you bat cleanup, like, the job is completely different. It's not to set the table. It's not to draw a walk. It's to get guys in, whether that's via homer or just get guys in that are on base. And interestingly, Tatis, by and large, has been a leadoff hitter, believe it or not, in his career. He has spent more time leading off than batting anywhere else in the lineup. He's 27 years of age. He has only started 45 games in his career as a cleanup hitter, as a 27-year-old. Now, he's been unbelievable in those games. He's got a 991 OPS. It's a long way of me saying this. I think they are moving him down. And I think by moving him down, they hope to unlock some of the power he enjoyed earlier in his career. Because I do think by batting him leadoff as often as they have the last couple of years, you're not necessarily asking for him to utilize the entire skill set, which includes power. I think by batting cleanup, you're saying, hey, we could use more power for you. You can display it in this spot.
And when you say help Manny Machado out, you mean break up, because you have Bogarts and Machado, who at times can be inconsistent hitters, especially Bogarts, and help him out? Like, help him out in that regard? Or what do you mean by that?
I think if Machado's your 3-hole hitter, you want Machado seeing pitches.
Okay.
So if Tatis is hitting cleanup, you can't work around Machado if Fernando Tatis Jr. is hitting. I mean, that's contingent on Fernando Tatis Jr. doing his job. But if your cleanup hitter, I'm making it up, is Gavin Sheets, well, guess what? Manny Machado's not going to see the world's greatest pitches until Gavin Sheets proves he's capable of making them pay. And that, is a hit or miss proposition. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. But the opposition might be like, I'm just going to take my chances with Gavin Sheets by and large.
And it's contingent as well on Fernando as well as Jackson Merrill. Because I think that's been an underrated part of this team is that the last few years, take the year they lost to the Dodgers, Luis Arias was frankly dreadful at the one spot. If we remember, he was really struggling in that series. I know his hand was hurt, but it was a big problem because even though Tatis had a good series and Machado had a good series, there was nothing on for him. Last year, Arias, I think, caught a lot of flack. And was he part of the success of the team? Not necessarily. He definitely did not come up big in some big spots, but I don't think he was the only problem with the team. Jackson Merrill is a guy. It's an interesting year for him because you come off this sensational rookie year where it's like this guy is the next. This is the next superstar. It's Merrill and Tatis with the future, supplemented by Bogarts, Machado, and the rest of the team. And then he gets off to, everyone remembers that great start last year, the first 3 weeks, and then the injury never really was getting back to that Jackson Merrill form. So if we put it like Jackson Merrill, I think because he's young and everyone's excited about the team-friendly contract he signed and his value for the future, we all focus on Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts, which is very fair. But this is a big year for Jackson Merrill because if this team wants to get where it wants to go, we're going to be talking about Jackson Merrill having an unbelievable season and taking that next step into becoming a superstar. Or if they're not where they want to be, we're sitting here talking about maybe Jackson Merrill isn't able to get back to the rookie season Jackson Merrill that kind of lit the world on fire.
Completely agree. I mean, I think that, you could argue like who is it a more important season for between Tatis and Merrill. I could probably make the case for both. To your point, like, is it Tatis because it's been a while since he's had that monster offensive year? Is it Merrill because you just signed him to this big deal and you can't afford for him to look more like 2025 than 2024? But at the end of the day, it's about Merrill, Machado, Tatis on offense. Like, yes, they gave the money to Xander, but it's been years now. I mean, is this his third year with the Padres or fourth?
Fourth? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're not counting on it. It's just a bad contract. So I put that on the organization. I put it on Xander as well, and hopefully he can perform better than he has by and large. But it's Merrill and it's Machado and Tatis, and we always say as Machado goes, the team goes. But I could certainly say as Machado, Tatis, and Merrill go, and you have to get more out of Fernando Tatis Jr. So many people spend so much time twisting and turning and telling us why it was a great year for Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm telling you, it didn't live up to his own standard. He
had a great first month. He did not have a great year.
He did. He had a great month. He's a brilliant defensive player. I mean, his WAR is gonna say that he's a very well-rounded player. He is. I'm not telling you he's not a very well-rounded player. I'm just telling you for what he thinks of himself and what we think of him, he's got to be like a top 10, 12 guy, and he wasn't that last year.
Miguel Rojas, a great defensive player. You don't pay him $300 million.
No statues for defensive players.
So I completely agree with everything you're saying. That's why if you buy into the Padres heading into the postseason or heading into this year, you're buying into Machado, Merrill, and Tatis, and that the rest of the pieces are going to fall in place. At the end of the day, we can talk about all the supplemental pieces that AJ Preller puts on the field, and I think that he's done a very good job with a lot of those pieces. But at the end of the day, if those three aren't performing up to snuff, this team's not going anywhere. And if they are, they're a real dangerous threat.
Yeah, I do think it's fascinating to see where Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to be hitting in this lineup. And by the way, I think with someone like Tatis, you're going to leave him there by and large. He's not going to be a guy that, it's fourth one day, and now he's hitting cleanup the next, and he's back to hitting third. No, just
especially for how streaky of a hitter he can be. Continuity is a big deal for him.
Know that every day you're getting to the ballpark, you're hitting fourth, is what I would say for Fernando Tatis Jr. All right, in the 3:00 hour, let's give away some tickets to the BNP Paribas Open, which is coming up in Indian Wells. We'll do that coming up in the 3:00 hour. Plus, we have more tickets to give away to see the Aztecs and Utah State. And that game is Wednesday night at Viejas Arena, a critical showdown with first place still on the line in the Mountain West Conference. Sammy's going to hang out until 4 p.m. Kevin Acey will join us at 4. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by the Brad versus Everyone podcast. The Winter Olympics have come and gone, and Norway was the big winner in terms of medal count. They were first with 41. The United States and Italy were second and third, respectively, with 33 and 30 medals total. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to put the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. And in news nobody really wanted, Mayweather Pacquiao 2 is set for September 19th at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Mayweather Pacquiao 1 was way back in 2015. Mayweather will turn 49 here in just a couple months, and Pacquiao is 47. Tonight we have Big 12 basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on number 8 Kansas. Our coverage will begin right after the show at 6 o'clock. Dangerous social media trends, media scandals, dumb TikTok boycotts, and more. Keep up with all the online stories mainstream media ignores by listening to the Brad versus Everyone podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, John Schaefer, Sammy Long, and this hour, your chance to win tickets to the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells coming this March. So we'll give away a pair of tickets to that this hour. We also have a pair of tickets to see San Diego State and Utah State Wednesday night at 8 p.m. at Viejas Arena. We just touched on this off air. There's a ton to get to. Padres, by the way, from 5-1 down, have taken a lead against the Brewers in the 8th inning. So the never say die February Padres with 6 unanswered in the 8th inning.
Those of course, Padres.
For whatever reason, is that my? Oh, it's my head. It must be my headphone. I'm like, why can't I hear Brent? Dude, I'm getting old. Okay, but here's what I was gonna say.
Hockey.
No, we're gonna get to hockey. But
okay.
Oh yeah, the big hit for the Padres this inning, none other than Romeo Sanabria. Okay,
name to watch, guys.
Number 93, Romeo Sanabria, who has had a really good 3 or 4 days, by the way.
We saw Ethan Salas out there.
Yeah, Ethan Salas is on the bases. I don't know how he got on, or I don't know. But anyway, the Padres are leading right now over the Brewers. So yesterday, again, I, as a kid, loved it. Over the last 30 years, I've watched none of it. But I remember, like, the experience of going to an NHL game is an unbelievable experience. Like, I think people watch hockey on TV, they might be like, I'm not really a hockey fan. You go, and it's ridiculous. Like, an NHL hockey game is ridiculous. And obviously, the Olympics is a whole other beast. So yesterday, there's all this hype and intrigue, obviously, for the U.S. and Canada. I actually hadn't really bought into the hype, me personally, until all of a sudden it was Sunday morning. And I think it was actually my wife that turned it on first. Like, oh, yeah, aren't they playing for the gold medal? I'm like, yeah, just throw it on. So we turn on the third period, and it was high drama, obviously. And obviously the way it plays out, Jack Hughes with the game winner in overtime is incredible. And it's an iconic moment that's going to last for forever.
Connor Hellebuyck's like stopping McKinnon, the one with the stick save in the third. Unbelievable.
So there's some moments in there. And I saw, like, for example, Jack Hughes, his trading cards, some of them in the immediate aftermath of him scoring have gone up like 100-fold.
They became like the Hughes brothers, and then the Kachuk brothers became like stars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but here's my point. And I hate to be this guy because it's not to take anything away from Team USA and the accomplishment. I don't like, this is more of a criticism of the Olympics. I don't like how you get to overtime and it's 3-on-3 hockey. Now, I'm glad the US ended up winning it. 3-on-3. And this is all I know. Listen, I haven't watched hockey like as a diehard since I was like 18, but I know this. When you go to 3-on-3, you ain't playing 20 minutes.
No.
In fact, you got a good chance you're not going to play 5 minutes. And this thing played out within a couple of minutes. It to me would be it's like you can't have baseball's most iconic moment with an automatic runner at second.
Right. I like that.
That's just my thought on it. It takes nothing away from the U.S. accomplishment. That is not my point. I'm just saying you're playing for a gold medal. They hadn't won one since 1980. The rules of hockey are not 3-on-3. Now, it's better than a shootout for me. I made a point to you off air. I'd start 5-on-5 for a period. Maybe at that point, because of health and safety, well-being, whatever, I go to 4-on-4 for a period. If necessary, I eventually get to 3-on-3. But to me, I didn't love. To me, it was a little bit of a hokey ending. I'm looking at all this open ice. I'm like, what is this? This is like 6-on-6 baseball or something. Like it didn't make a lot of sense to me. That was my one critique.
I would say a better analogy instead of the runner on second would be how they tried to finish the All-Star game.
Oh, with the
when they just picked the 3 randos to play home run derby, when it's just like, because not everyone's, not everyone, is going to get on the ice. We're just going to pick 3 people that are going to be on the ice, and you're going to either win the game or you're going to lose it for us. I sound like I'm doing John versus Jim. They're either going to win it or they're going to lose it. So I think that's the analogy I would use, because it's just the same way the All-Star game, the other 4 people had no say on the impact of that game. It was just the 3 that they picked for the home run derby.
I hear everything you're saying, and
it was a great moment.
I get it. I get it in terms of this. I understand people being a little frustrated with it goes 3-on-3. If you don't watch the NHL, you don't, and in the playoffs, you just keep playing. There's no 3-on-3. Yep. Keep playing 5-on-5, because the last thing you want to do is send a playoff in with who has best goalie. I mean, if you have the best goalie, you could have a terrible team, and you could stand that criticism when you have all this drama. U.S. David Celebrini, you have some of the best goal scorers in the NHL on that team. And the criticism of the U.S. team when they picked them was that they left like Jason Robertson, DeBrincat, some of the best goal scorers for America at home. So it actually, in a weird way, I think actually gives more credence to America, the fact that if you took just the best pure goal scorers, they would all land on Canada, and that they end up winning it. But I completely agree with what you both are saying. I would have liked to see 5-on-5, because early on in the tournament, you didn't want to go 5-on-5 because games could go for hours longer, and you had other games to get to. But a gold medal match, you don't have that problem. I would have liked to see it go 5-on-5 and saw what happened down the stretch.
I'm just saying, like, I don't even listen. I don't really know the circumstances surrounding Miracle on Ice. You know what I mean? Like, it's been so long. All you know is do you believe in miracles? Yes.
Remember they pulled the best goal in the world after the first period because they scored 2?
I don't, honestly. Like, I don't even know the story. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, you got to watch the movie.
I know I need to. But I know that they won the gold, right? So, and you know that it's iconic. But here's what else I also know about that game. It was 5-on-5 hockey. Mm-hmm. Like, I just know they were playing 5-on-5. And to wait this long, like, I'm looking at the champions since 1980. I was shocked to find out the U.S. had not won since 1980. You got the Soviets for forever, right? Then you've got Canada, and you've got all these. So the fact that they hadn't won since 1980 is remarkable to me. And again, you're using NHL players. I know it's just my 2 cents. Nobody's going to see it that way.
Agree.
It's going to be remembered as this all-time Olympic moment in the U.S., and it should be. It's not to take away from Jack Hughes or the players or the team.
I totally get what you're saying.
I would say the same thing about Canada. I'd be like, wait, they just won playing 3-on-3. I just wouldn't determine a championship playing 3-on-3 hockey.
In that game, you said like the drama. The drama was built up. I think a lot of people tuned into that game who maybe have hardly ever watched hockey in their life, or only tune on when it's Stanley Cup Finals, the Olympics. There was a lot of drama building because in that third period, I mean, you had some close saves. It looked like Canada had all the momentum. There were penalties going back and forth.
Yep.
There were some big like win probability swings 100%. Even in that second and third period. And so I totally get what you're saying. It would have been fun to see 5-on-5. The game would have likely went longer, and you would have had some real drama, especially as people were getting up because of the time of the game. But yeah, it was great to see Hughes put it in the net.
And I get why, all the Canadian players are bitching today about it. Canada's, they are hockey. And, if the U.S. would have lost that game yesterday and got silver, they would have came back to the States. Everyone still would have been proud of them. And, they could have came back with their heads held high. Those Canadians going back to Canada now.
Did you see them with the silver medal?
Oh, they're going to go down there, looking like, Charlie Brown, sad walking through the snow and everything because they got second, and everyone's going to be so mad at them. So I get why they're complaining about it.
It is crazy that, like, we don't talk a lot of hockey here in San Diego, but Canada, like, that is their sport. It is like hockey is our football, and then, basketball and baseball. But they haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, the Montreal Canadiens. Like,
and there's so many teams.
They have what 7 teams? 8 teams?
Something. There's a whole division of Canadian teams, is there not?
Yeah, and a few years ago, there was the first time ever that all the teams had missed the postseason. It's kind of crazy that Canada's number one sport, they're not winning at a clip that you would think that, like in soccer's growing in America. It's got a real fan base, but it's not our number one sport. So that's why you see the men's team struggle when they go play on the world stage, because that's everyone else's number one sport.
Yeah, like what are the odds That's such a good point. So you have roughly 30 NHL teams, right?
Yeah, 30.
30. So 7 of them, just the sheer math on it. What are the odds of 7 of your 30 teams, aka 24%, haven't won since 1993? And they're invested, to your point, heavily in the sport. It's not like these aren't all the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Miami Marlins. It's like, are you kidding me? The Canadiens and the Maple Leafs, like they're in the business of winning.
They
have,
have,
you look at their history.
Connor McDavid is the best player in the sport. He plays for Edmonton. Now they were in the Stanley Cup final last 2 years and lost. But I mean, it is kind of crazy when I heard that this morning. I was like, they haven't won since 1993.
1993. And yeah, again, it's like, you have a special sporting moment when you're resonating. It doesn't even matter that it was hockey. Like this is now just, you're reaching people that aren't hockey fans.
Totally.
That's always the point of like, wow, it is. And that's why it goes back to what we talked about maybe last week. I'm like, oh, should they use major leaguers in the 2028 Olympics? You know, the baseball being played at Dodger Stadium. Like
1,000,000%.
If you didn't, how could you shoot yourself in the foot any more than not using major leaguers at Dodger Stadium? Just like, how could the NHL ever go back from what they are doing? This is such a home run. I haven't seen the ratings. I'm imagining tens of millions. I'm imagining this is a massive number, one of the biggest numbers in the history of hockey in the United States.
And baseball has more stars in America than hockey does. But look what we're talking about. We don't normally ever leave the show with hockey in San Diego. Very few times that ever happened. And Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes are now household names. Connor Hellebuck. These are names people are talking about today. The Kachuk brothers, that would have never happened. To your point, with baseball, it's like you want to see Fernando Tatis, you want to see Shohei Ohtani, you want to see Vladdy, you want to see the best players in the sport going at it, throwing a bunch of college kids or a bunch of minor leaguers. That just completely takes away. It's like the NFL and the Olympics. Not that the NFL needs a ratings boost, but we want to see Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson. We don't want to see a bunch of fringe college kids we haven't even heard of playing Uzbekistan.
Yeah, in flag football.
In flag football, yeah.
100%. All right, on the other side, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells this March. And we've got a developing story regarding Gunnar Rivers, the son of Philip Rivers. Where will he play his college football? We'll share that with you on the other side right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760, John Schaefer and Sammy Long hanging out. Kevin Acey will join us live at 4. We've got Aztec tickets to give away this hour for the critical game against Utah State coming up on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. If you missed Brian Dutcher, by the way, post-game with me, you'll hear that coming up today as well. And we have BMP Paribas tickets, which is in the Coachella Valley this March in Palm Springs. So we'll give away those tickets coming up later in the hour. Within the next 10 minutes, we'll give away these BMP Paribas Open tickets.
Let's go watch some tennis.
Let's go watch some tennis at Indian Wells. Gunnar Rivers, all right, the son of Phillip Rivers, who Phillip has been coaching, right, in high school, has
Alabama
made his college choice, right, in Alabama. Where will Gunnar Rivers be playing his college football?
NC State.
Correct. Gunnar Rivers has committed to NC State. He is a 4-star prospect. He's the son of the 8-time Pro Bowler Phillip Rivers, who starred, of course, for a bulk of his career in San Diego. His oldest son, Gunnar Rivers, will be playing for the NC State Wolfpack, just like his dad did about a generation ago.
Do you think he still has? Do you think he has that sidearm sling like his old man?
Interesting to see. That'll be interesting.
He does. Well, he does in high school. He's got the
you
little
would think
push
he would
thing.
because that's who taught him how to throw.
Right,
it's his dad. So
yeah, just kind of interesting. It's like father, like son.
Yeah,
you end up at NC State. I mean, some of it makes sense, but sometimes it's like I don't want to do what dad did, But he ends up at NC State, 4-star recruit. Kind of an intriguing thing.
He's gonna have a lot of eyeballs on him.
Oh,
when you're obviously a son of a legendary quarterback like that, and with the fact that, to Brent, your point, I mean, he does throw like Phillip. When watching Phillip Rivers all those years, I never understood how he was so accurate, how he dropped balls in tight windows when it's like he would push it out. Like he would never teach someone how to throw a football like that, but for some reason with Rivers, it worked.
Well, I remember too, like that year during like the draft combine, that was his big knock. That was going to be the reason that he was like supposed to slide so far in the draft. He didn't anyways, but he was supposed to slide just because they didn't like his throwing motion.
That is one of the, not to derail our segment, we'll get into whatever we're doing, but that is one of the craziest drafts of all time with the Eli, the Big Ben, and then Phillip. When Eli didn't want to go to San Diego and with the trade, like that whole process kind of made the NFL draft what it is today, because it's like the greatest reality TV you could ever have happening in real time live in front of you.
Yeah, it's also like a true glass door situation where it's like you never really would know what happened if it didn't play out that way with Eli Manning.
Right.
I mean, that happens in sports. I mean, it's not the only example of something like that playing out, but it is interesting to note that Eli ends up winning 2 Super Bowls. Now, again, was he the greatest player ever? No, not necessarily, but he was a clutch player.
He was a clutch player with some great rosters and defenses.
Yeah, exactly. He was a clutch player and he won some huge games, obviously, and huge Super Bowls. And Phillip Rivers was a great player that had chances, certainly. And they,
right,
like the classic example of a guy that in sports like basketball or playing quarterback in football is like you're judged on winning. Like you're judged on rings, you're judged on records, you're judged on Super Bowls. Fair or unfair, it doesn't take away from his individual accomplishments. Like Phillip Rivers was a great player during parts of his career, probably a Hall of Fame player.
I mean, you have a guy who played the same time. Brent, cover your ears. Jay Cutler, doesn't go back in the game in the NFC title game when he could have, and then you have Phillip Rivers who's playing an AFC title game with a ripped ACL. I mean, that's just like you have respect for a guy like that for being so tough.
By the way, they just posted.
I love
something.
Jay Cut, by the way.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, the Bears quarterback history is not the most glamorous history in football history, but they just posted something on ESPN that said the expectation from the NFL this offseason is that the tush push will not be banned, which should come as no surprise. Remember, now think about this. 12 months ago, the league was enamored with the idea of eliminating this play because there was this inherent unfair advantage that only Philadelphia was taking advantage of, right? That's what we were sold a year ago. Well, here we are a year later. The Eagles fall flat on their face. They didn't have near the success of the play itself, by the way, in 2025. And now it almost feels like it's a complete back burner conversation. It's like we've seen like phases of football, like the Wildcat phase, right? It's like, did we ban the Wildcat? No. And by the way, defense has kind of figured it out, and it's not even run by and large in the NFL. You'll see it in college. or we've seen the tush push with the levels of success, certainly from Philadelphia the last couple of years, and now they don't win the Super Bowl and they don't win a playoff game, and now we're going to leave it in the sport. I think at the end of the day, people didn't like it because of the success Philadelphia was having.
But you couldn't stop it.
Yeah, but is the theory being like, if you couldn't stop with Philadelphia, why couldn't Cleveland run it?
But that's why I never was for. Take that back. I was for banning it, and other people are going to go, "Oh, you're a Chiefs fan." I want to make this very clear: the Eagles destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and it had nothing to do with the Chiefs with the tush push. Right. So that's not the reason they won. My problem was this: if you're going to keep it in the game, which I'm fine with, and I know Brad, you feel a little differently about this, but if you're going to keep it in the game, you have to call it fairly. Because if you were seeing, which is ironic because it was the Chiefs game this year where they started talking about it, was if the guards are jumping on a false start,
right?
If it's already a hard play to stop because they were allowing Jalen Hurts to get forward momentum, and they wouldn't call the forward momentum. It would always kind of be the second push. It would never be the first push that got it. It's like if you're not going to allow people to spear the quarterback, if you're not going to allow people to try to knock the ball out, and it's just kind of going over a pile, and if you're going to allow them to false start, then I am for banning it. But if you're going to call it right, you're going to call false start penalties. You're going to allow someone to jump the center,
which they did kind of more this year, right?
And you saw there was less success because you had the worry of it's a hard play to run, and now we're going to be back 5 yards. That I'm okay with. But when there was no regulations, it was kind of tough.
Me and Brent, do you feel the same way though, Brent? Like where you're like, I wouldn't outlaw the play. I mean, again, is it the sexiest playing football? No, but is the free throw the sexiest playing basketball?
I didn't think they should have outlawed it. You know, one of my big things, I had lots of gripes with it, but it wasn't the Eagles' fault that the refs weren't calling them for false starts and stuff like that. And lots of people were just all lumping it all on the Eagles. And it's like, well, the Eagles, they're not going to throw a flag on themselves. It's like, you got a problem with it. Take it up with the league for not, calling it. But I was just always of the opinion of, look, if it's so easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
This is a copycat league. You brought up the Wildcat. Once a couple teams had success with the Wildcat, every team tried implementing the Wildcat.
I totally agree with you. The only caveat, though, is the rules have went to favor the offense so much more than when the Wildcat became a thing. And when people were running this stuff, that you could spear people, you could take a dive at someone, you could try to jump a center, and because the rules favor offense so much now, I think it's a little bit different than when the Wildcat came in and guys like in plays like that, because it is so skewed offense in today's NFL.
Here's the one thing I would say though that I wouldn't be concerned about if I was the NFL. I don't think the future of the league is the tush push. Like when you think about modern football. Now, again, Philadelphia had a level of success with it, a high level of success with it for a period of time. But I don't think all of a sudden teams are going to look a lot like Air Force in the NFL because Philadelphia was able to ground and pound.
But do you think it took something away in the sense of fun 4th and 1, 3rd and 2 play calls where coaches really make their hay? It became like, all right, well, we know what they're doing.
Maybe it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward too. I don't love small sample sizes with anything. Mm-hmm. Like when you widen it out, you're like, well, what is the true impact? Like, okay, over the course of this year, it meant this, but over the course of the next year, it didn't. And when you add the two up, it led to this level of success. Again, I don't think it's something the league should be overly worried about, because I don't think next year, all of a sudden, Seattle is going to be like, hey, not only did we win the Super Bowl, we're going to run this play 11 times a game.
Fair.
That's just how but we'll see. We'll see. All right. On the other side, we are going to get back to the Padres and the Aztecs. We're going to hear from Brian Dutcher, in fact, what he had to say post-game after the Aztecs lost at Colorado State. But call right now if you want 2 free tickets to the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells. 877-767-4760. Caller 5, you're going. Each March, the Coachella Valley transforms into the epicenter of the tennis universe as the best players in the world descend on Indian Wells for the BNP Paribas Open. Fans experience the magical tennis of world-class stars like Carlos Alcaraz and more, Coco Gauff included as well, as they take center stage at the famed courts of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, March 1st through the 15th. Caller 5, you're going. 2 free tickets, 877-767-4760. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side. Aztecs fall in Fort Collins, but are still playing for first place on Wednesday night against Utah State. And we have tickets to give away to that game coming up as well, right here on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by the Tudor Dixon podcast. The winter games have come and gone, and the final medal total favored Norway. They were first. They ended up with 41 total medals. The United States and Italy finished second and third, respectively, with 33 and 30 medals. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to throw the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. And in, I guess, technically boxing news, Mayweather-Pacquiao 2 is set for September 19th at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Pacquiao-Mayweather 1 was way back in 2015. And Mayweather is about to turn 49 and Pac-Man is 47. So that should be interesting. Tonight on San Diego Sports 760, we've got Big 12 basketball when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on number 8 Kansas. Our coverage begins right after the show at 6 o'clock. This week on the Tudor Dixon podcast, they're exposing a dirty Democrat, learning the secret dangers of dance class, and breaking down the State of the Union. Get the facts the media won't. Listen to the Tudor Dixon podcast on the iHeart app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. We're going to hear from Brian Dutcher coming up in a moment. Sammy told me not to plug it. I will anyway. So Sammy has a new hour-long show that has been airing on 570 AM, right?
Yes, yes. I'm very excited about it.
Not quite ringside. And this is with Colin Yee and you.
Yep.
Okay. And you're talking fighting. You're talking boxing and MMA, or is it all boxing?
It's like 85% boxing, but we do hit on the UFC as well.
UFC, MMA. Okay. The reason I bring it up, and you can listen to this Saturday mornings at 9
to 10. Thank you for plugging it, by the way. I appreciate that.
570, you could listen to Sammy Long with Colin Yee, not quite ringside. But the reason I wanted to bring it up now is it's now officially official. This Pacquiao-Mayweather fight.
Oh, my God.
And their combined age is pushing 100, right? Who's 49?
Mayweather's 49.
And Pacquiao's 47.
Pacquiao's 47.
And this is a sanctioned fight. This is not an exhibition.
No, this is a real
sanctioned fight by the state of Nevada in Las Vegas at the Sphere.
It is going on their record, their professional record. Whoever wins, whoever loses, if there's a draw, this will go. So if Floyd loses, he will lose his 50-0.
This just, tell me I'm wrong. This is just, I need money.
Yes.
And I hate to, honestly, I think it is such a shame for the sport for that to play out that way. And this has been going on, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Sammy, you know it way better than I. But for the better part of the last 25 years, you haven't had boxing fights with fighters by and large in their primes. Is it like people would clamor for something and you'd get one older fighter with then maybe one fighter in their prime, but it never happened with two 30-year-old fighters. You'd get a 39-year-old and a 29-year-old, or eventually two 39-year-olds, but you clamored for it when they were 29. But this is getting to the nth degree when you have two 50-year-olds or two boxers pushing 50 getting together to fight. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the appeal is. The appeal is the brand. These are massive names. Of course, people are intrigued. Hey, look, it's Mike Tyson in a ring. I get it. It's going to draw eyeballs. But what does it mean for every time you do something like this? In my opinion, you're kind of chipping away at the credibility.
100%.
And that's my issue with it.
Well, think about, to your point, the first fight where people who, I know boxing is very niche, UFC is very niche, but if Mayweather Pacquiao was a spectacle, I think most non-fight fans like, oh, I want to see this fight.
When was that?
2015.
Okay.
To your point, it was 4 years after it should have happened. Manny Pacquiao was knocking De La Hoya out, Ricky Hatton, everyone running through everyone. Mayweather wouldn't fight him in 2011 because he saw him as a real threat. He waited 4 years till Manny was kind of older, lost a little hand speed, and then he was able to it was kind of a boring fight.
Right.
Defensive clinic. Boxing has suffered from that in that promoters go, instead of making the best fights like we saw in the 80s and the 90s and so forth, it's like I can make an A-side fighter fight a B-side fighter from my own stable and keep all the profits versus getting two A-side fighters where you don't know what's going to happen, get in the ring. It's really hurt the sport. And the Pacquiao Mayweather thing, it's a real fight. It's kind of embarrassing. I don't like, I'm going to be watching it because I'm going to be covering it for our show, but it's kind of ridiculous that Mayweather, who's been doing exhibitions for years, is now hopping legit back in the ring at age 49, and Pacquiao, actually, who Mario Barrios, who just lost to Ryan Garcia over the weekend, he had a real professional fight a year ago, Manny Pacquiao. So he's been in the ring more recently. It's just, it's like, it's not something we needed. They're way past their primes. And this is a sport. This is not like, hey, baseball, a hitter is at age 42 is trying to get back into it. Guys can get seriously hurt. And I know people don't talk about this, but this is like not a joke. They're trying to punch each other and take each other's heads off. And when you're not in the best shape of your life, when you're 25 versus 49 and 47, it's a spectacle, but it's kind of a joke as well.
I got suckered just like everyone else did when Tyson had that
Paul.
Netflix fight where it
was awful.
We got swept up in the nostalgia and we're like, oh, he's still good enough that he can knock out a YouTuber. And then everyone saw him and like everyone all at once was like, oh, Mike, you shouldn't have done that.
And Brett, to your point, it was sad seeing a legend like Mike in the ring. And that's the lasting image we have of him.
Well, but here's the other thing.
To my point though, is now we have 50-year-old Mayweather who wasn't even knocking people out in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
He was a speed. I'm going to win by points and a decision. Most non-boxing fans don't want to watch him dance around and win on points. They want to see people get knocked out, and they won't see that in his prime. And now he's going to be even older with less power to where I can't see people wanting to just see him dance around for 10 rounds.
But here's the thing. I think we'll get more of this, not less, moving forward. Here's why. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, 100 million viewers. Most streamed event in American history when it aired in 2024. These companies aren't stupid. You put this on display, and it's like what Brent said. He got swept up in it. It is more of the hype vehicle than anything else. It's not about the fight. Nobody cares. Like,
right.
I don't know what happened to the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. I watched the entire thing actually at Circa in Las Vegas. I know nothing happened. I watched it. I can't remember any definable moment other than there wasn't a lot that occurred. I don't think that's the point. I think it's more, the point is what brings people to their television. And this will bring them there. Once they get there, they don't have to leave satisfied. I think by and large, people will be there. I don't think it's a like fool me once, shame on whatever that saying is. I think if they were there for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, I think these companies recognize they'll be there for Mayweather and Pacquiao.
And boxing and UFC is a weird sport, two weird sports in that if the Padres go rip off 2 World Series in a row, they're the face of baseball. And whether they're fun, whether they're boring, the Patriots were a boring dynasty, except they won, so you couldn't ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors happen to be really exciting. Boxing in the UFC is odd in that just because you're a great fighter, to Brent's point, Mayweather does not have a fun style. To the non-diehard boxing fans, people go, I don't want to see you just dance around a ring and not get hit for 12 rounds. So Mayweather's like, I'm going to be the loudest. I'm going to talk the loudest. So you're going to pay $100 to either see me get knocked out or you're going to pay $100 because you want to be with a winner. It's one of the weird sports where you don't have, just because you're successful doesn't mean that you sell. You could have multiple losses. You could be Jake Paul, who's not really, is not an elite fighter at elite weight, but he can talk and he can sell, and he's going to do way bigger numbers than some of the elite fighters in the sport who just aren't a draw publicly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I would say this is like, I always think, and I'll be proven wrong. Listen, these boxers will make a lot of money. It's Netflix. It's going to air, right?
Yeah, it's going to be free on Netflix.
They're going to make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you're undermining the true intention of the sport. If anyone cares, we're in a world where entertainment trumps sport. So I see this more as like an entertainment vehicle. But if you ever are hopeful that boxing becomes boxing of 1989, you're only inching further away from that.
Yeah.
With events like this, which again, maybe to the credit of the boxing federations, this is what they much prefer because they've already been probably lapped by something like the UFC.
Which has the entire stable of the best MMA fighters in the sport. Most of them reside in the UFC versus boxing with different promoters.
Yeah, it's like UFC, to correct me if I'm wrong, some of these UFC fights, when we're watching UFC 330, whatever, it's not 49-year-old against 47-year-old.
No, the guys in their primes.
That's the thing. And so I feel like they've capped it where boxing has like become more and more niche. That's where UFC has stepped in and become more and more mainstream. And for the only way for boxing to keep up is, hey, here's Mike Tyson. You know, like you're just kind of like
names,
throwing out carrots. And that to me doesn't really legitimize your sport.
I think UFC is a little more organized too, where I remember maybe 5 years ago when Hartman was. You might have been on the show, John, when Steve and them when they would do their. They went out for one of the big boxing fights out in Vegas.
Yeah,
and
who was fighting?
And it was Kelzagi, I think.
Oh, Kazaki?
A couple years ago, because like we made fun of like Ernie because he got some stupid jacket or something.
I wasn't at that one, but we went to one in LA.
Okay, but they interviewed Roy Jones Jr. when they were out there.
Yeah.
And Roy Jones Jr. said that the problem with boxing these days is nobody knows who the hell the champions are because
there's too many belts.
There's too many belts, and it's not like back in the day where it was like, okay, here's Tyson, he's a heavyweight champ, or here's Lennox Lewis, he's a heavyweight champ, and it made him easily identifiable. Now, there's 4 different, have at least 4 different heavyweight champs. So, not everyone can just point and go, oh, okay, there's Mike Tyson. He's the champ.
And then the other thing that for all boxing's flaws, which you're 100% right. All the belts, there's way too many. Wait, he's a champ. He's a lineal champ. It doesn't make sense. It's hard to digest. The UFC has 1 belt for one division and a contender list 1 through 10. So you go, oh, wait, 10's fighting 5. All right, well, if he wins, he's going to move up. Where the UFC's problem is they lack stars. For all boxing's flaws, boxing has stars. Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Tyson Fury. There's Canelo Alvarez. There's big stars in boxing, which is why you see a bunch of UFC fighters come to box. You feel like if you could really mesh the two with the system of the UFC and the stars of boxing, it would be back to where it was.
You want more of that? You can listen on AM 570 Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Not quite ringside with Sammy Long and
Colin Yee.
You can listen to Quite ringside. All right. On the other side, we're giving away Aztec tickets for Wednesday's showdown against Utah State. Aztecs trying to snap a mini 2-game slide. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side, plus Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, joining the show live at 4 p.m. from Peoria. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs Wednesday night taking on Utah State. Pregame coverage at 7. I'll have the tip for you at 8. I want to get into that with Sammy for a minute. We have Aztec tickets we'll give away in 10 minutes. San Diego State, Utah State. We have pairs we're giving away every hour. This hour, next hour, and the 5 o'clock hour as well. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher for a few minutes coming up as well. I talked to Alan about it. And I'll talk about this more in the final 2 hours of the show as well. You can believe whatever you want to believe. You can have any opinion you want about sports. I'm not telling you what your opinion is. I'm telling you mine. If you believe the sky is falling because they've lost to GCU and Colorado State, I'm just saying that is a bridge too far for me. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know if they're going to win Wednesday or lose. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's like, guys, they're 18-8. If 18-8 is your down year, then Memphis is 12-14 with 3 times the NIL resources of San Diego State. Marquette's 9-19. Or something. They've played for national championships, maybe even won them in the 1970s. It's they've been to the tournament 6 straight years. It's hard to go every year. And they may go, they may not. It's an unwritten book to this point. It's not finished. But if 18-8 is a down year, there's a lot of programs that would take it. It's not to excuse it or justify it. I'm just telling you that it's not over. They're playing for first place on Wednesday night. I think this whole sky is falling,
right?
Everything's over mentality. It's way too early to go down that path.
Well, and especially in this sport, when you have the ultimate get out of jail free card in the Mountain West Conference tournament. I mean, yes. Is it okay to be frustrated that the Aztecs are likely putting themselves in the predicament to where they're going to have to win a game, 3 straight days, 3 games to win a thing? Totally understandable for how much talent is on this team. They've underperformed. But that being said, they can't do that. And if you're sitting in Vegas and you got all the teams in the Mountain West Conference tournament, the Aztecs have just as good a shot as any to pull that off, and very well likely might be the favorite alongside Utah State to do so. Yes. Have they played well against Grand Canyon? No, they haven't. We're going to see, got a great showdown Wednesday night, like you said, against Utah State with a shot for number 1 in the Mountain West. We keep going back to it. It's a lot like the Atlanta Braves last year. It's kind of everything that went wrong early could have gone wrong. You had we'll be frank, 2 weeks of really bad basketball. Troy, Michigan, Baylor, and then Arizona. And it's kind of holding against you right now. But to your point, over the Mountain West Conference play, overall, they've been very good. Did they have a bad week of basketball this last week? 100%. Would have liked to see them respond better against Grand Canyon. Seems like they came out a little bit flat against Colorado State, and there's some calls not going their way. It felt like it kind of got to him a little bit. And hell, maybe them possibly being out of an at-large bid before the game got to him. But to think that the season's just done now, to think that it's over, I think why everyone's so frustrated is because the amount of talent is on this team. And I know we keep saying it. Can they put it together? Can they put it together? By and large, the last month and a half, they have put it together offensively. Are there still kinks to work out? Yes, I think when there's a little bit too much ball sharing between Magoo and Guath, Miles Bird, Reese Dixon Waters, BJ Davis. It's there's so much talent on the team. I think there's a little bit of who's the closer, who's going to go win this thing at the end of it. But could they 100% get healthy in the next 2 weeks and go win a Mountain West Conference tournament? And we're sitting here talking about them in March. 100%, yeah.
And by the way, if it doesn't happen, if they don't win the Mountain West tournament, if they don't make it as an at-large team, are they not afforded a 20-10 year where they're on the outside looking in when they've made the tournament 6 straight years and 7 of 8 out of Brian Dutcher? What are you asking of? He's not coaching in the SEC. He's got to, you know what I mean? To get in, you're asking him to go 23-7 every year. He's done it by and large. They go 20-10 one year, not 10-20. And let's say they're outside looking in with a record like that. Okay, by the expectations, all right, quote unquote, down year. But if 20-10 is your down year, I think by and large, you probably are willing to take that if you're a college basketball fan.
Well, and think about, not to disparage the program before the last 6-7 years, but 10-15 years ago, getting to the tournament was a really big deal for San Diego State.
Well, before Steve Fisher.
Before Steve Fisher. Yeah. It was, what this program has done, built on the back of Steve Fisher and then now Brian Dutcher. We're talking about the fact that people are frustrated that this team is in jeopardy not making the tournament shows you how far this program has come from, hey, we're just making the tournament, to we went to the Sweet 16, to we went to a national championship game and you want to go win this thing. I agree with you. They're afforded 1 year. And again, it's not done. We're not sitting here saying it's completely over. I am interested though how they approach the next 2 weeks, because if they are out of an at-large bid, is it more about getting healthy? Is it more about kind of figuring out more consistency offensively? I'm curious how Coach Dutcher and the staff kind of attacks the next couple of weeks, knowing that you want to be healthy for the Mountain West Conference tournament, but you certainly do have some things to figure out from an on-court perspective.
What do you got, bro?
Neil Payne, one of the bracketologists at ESPN, he did a bubble watch story this morning, and he had the Aztecs in the has work to do category. He said that even with consecutive losses to Grand Canyon and Colorado State, it's taken a major toll on their at-large chances, but it just went from 65 to 27%
over the last 2 games.
Yeah, over the last 2 games. But down here towards the bottom, it says with a fairly sizable gap in the at-large chances over the next best team in the Mountain West, which would be Boise with just south of 5%. They said the Aztecs could get in regardless, but if the Mountain West gets only 2 bids, they said New Mexico has the edge right now. But the key thing for that is, guess who the Aztecs play on Saturday?
New Mexico.
Yeah. So if they have the edge right now, if we beat New Mexico, then that would give us the edge over them.
I'm curious. That's not going to be easy.
No.
How I'm curious your guys' thoughts. If you're coaching the team, which we're not, how do you approach? Because Brent, to your point, they might not be out of that large bid, and if they win the next few games, at-large bids projections are all assuming that all of the teams on the bubble keep winning and have a great final 2 weeks, which is a reason why all these teams are on the bubble. But when you're playing New Mexico, when you're playing Utah State, and you might have to see them in 3 weeks with your lives seriously on the line, I wonder if you're showing everything in the bag for this game, or if it's like, hey, we're going to play basketball, we're going to go try to win the next 2 weeks and put ourselves in a better position mentally.
Here's what I would say. I mean, this is obviously a really challenging stretch, and by losing to GCU, that made it harder. But like, the importance of Wednesday is, not just first place in the Mountain West, but you don't want to lose 3 consecutive games. Then you're going to New Mexico. Now you're looking at potentially 4. You know what I mean? I think under Brian Dutcher in his 9 years, they've lost 3 straight one time. Once. In 9 years, I think it was his 2nd year. I think that's right. I haven't looked it up recently. I haven't been reading bracketology. I'm more worried about Wednesday night than I am about their at-large chances right now. Because ultimately, and I think that should be the team's, like the messaging to the team, you can't worry about these next 4 games or what got away from you this past week. None of it is relevant other than Wednesday night. Who cares about Saturday? Who cares about last Saturday? All that matters, especially against a team like Utah State, you got to play well to beat Utah State. And that's what they have coming up on Wednesday night. If you want to go, call right now, 877-767-4760. 877-767-4760. We have 2 free tickets for caller number 7 to Wednesday night showdown at VA House Arena, where first place is on the line. If the Aztecs win the game, they'll be in a tied atop the leaderboard in the Mountain West with Utah State. Caller 7, you're going. 877-767-4760. If you don't win now, we'll have more tickets to give away in the 4 and 5 o'clock hours. Sammy, appreciate you, my friend.
The boys the best. Thank you.
By. That is Sammy Long. Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, on the other side on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by the Tudor Dixon podcast. The Winter Olympics has come and gone, and Norway was the big winner in terms of medal totals. They were first with 41. The U.S. and Italy were second and third, respectively, with 33 and 30 total medals. In NFL news, the Falcons are going to place the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. And tonight we have Big 12 basketball, when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on number 8 Kansas. Our coverage will begin right after the show at 6:00.
This week on the Tudor Dixon podcast, we're exposing a dirty Democrat, learning the secret dangers of dance class, and breaking down the State of the Union. Get the facts the media won't. Listen to the Tudor Dixon podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, let's catch up with our Padres insider, Kevin Acee, back with us from Peoria, where the Padres have been well underway this spring, completing their 4th game earlier today and coming from behind to beat Milwaukee in Peoria earlier today. So, Kevin, I always appreciate you taking time. I want to ask this, just a general question to start us off, because you've covered spring training for so long now. How do you watch these games? Like, through what prism? Do you watch them? What matters to you as you're watching these games play out?
Less and less as the Padres are good, am I truly engaged for a long periods of time or for a great swath of the game. I mean, yeah, you want to watch when Miguel Andujar comes up, that type of player. And you know what? Increasingly, as these guys like Romeo Sanabria, Carlos Rodriguez, Jose Miranda, a couple other guys that are really raking early, as that kind of heats up, and it's like, can one of those guys unseat Bryce Johnson for that 13th position player spot? Then I'll pay attention to those. But it can get a little rough. Today was full of good relievers, but the reality is a bunch of guys who are gonna make the team. Mason Miller, I'll be honest, I checked later to look at his location, his velocity, but I had a lot to do. I was talking to a lot of people. Mason Miller's gonna be on this team. I'm not a scout or a coach. I don't need to watch Mason Miller all that closely on February 23rd.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, I've always looked at it through the lens of spring training is kind of made for starting pitchers to be built up. I mean, I know there's way more than that, but you can't go into a season with a guy throwing 1 inning. So you want to give him the necessary starts to be able to, get through 75 plus pitches, let's say, when the season starts. But when I look at, you had a note in here where they're, the guys in their 40-man roster position players have gotten off to a slow start, which is factually correct. But I look at it and I think you're the same way. I don't even care. I want to see them healthy. Right. But at the end of the day, Tatis could hit 315 in the spring. It doesn't mean he's hitting 315 in the regular season, and vice versa. He could hit 115 in the spring. Doesn't mean he's hitting 115 once we get underway.
Right. I'm sure there's going to be someone who reads the spring training game box that you're talking about, where I talked about the starting players, and then also read the story I'm about to post on the potential length of their lineup and goes, well, wait a minute. Right. I thought those guys weren't hitting. And okay, all right. But yeah, look, you are totally spot on. And that's what I think most baseball people would say about spring training and starting pitchers. And by the way, I was locked in on Randy, especially when I see his pitches coming in like they were yesterday, Randy Vasquez. But and look, I was locked in on JP Sears until, a couple batters in. Right. But that was his first start. And Craig Stammen he's interesting, man, former pitcher and a guy who was sometimes was fighting to make a team. He has a great tolerance for pitchers having bad spring training outings early.
Yeah, and again, he didn't make it out of the first inning, right? JP Sears today.
No.
Yeah. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Let's discuss Vasquez's debut more, because I guess the key here is, I was reading that, first of all, he finished last year, his velocity was up, and now he starts spring, and maybe he's fighting for a job or a spot somewhere, slate into that rotation as number 3, 4, 5, whatever it's going to be, and his velocity once again is up. That's got to be really encouraging for the Padres, right? Because here was a guy that was not throwing nearly as hard probably 12 months ago, and from 12 months until now, his velocity's got to be up at least a couple miles per hour.
Right. And, comparing apples to apples, and I wrote about it today, came in out of shape last year. And his velo was, I think, exactly 5 miles an hour. His average was exactly 5 miles an hour greater yesterday than a year earlier, his first spring training start. So, that's big. And why is it big? Well, velo's big. 97 is kind of, that'd be good for a starter if he could maintain that in a game, which he did once at the end of last year. But also with his stuff, which enabled him to have a sub-4 ERA last year, enabled him to get out of a lot of jams. If the velo could be there and he could start getting more swing and miss, maybe there aren't as many jams. Maybe there's some longer outings. That is very promising for the Padres.
How do you think ABS, automatic balls and strikes, which you've seen each of the last 2 springs and has already been playing out, I think, as you've been writing about, both of these catchers, Campy and Fermin, have been really good with the challenge system so far. What impact do you expect this to have once we get into the season?
Oh, gosh, if these guys keep going like this, these 2 catchers, and most teams, if not everyone, is going to restrict their pitchers from, challenging, and it will be catchers. But these guys keep going at this clip, they can affect a lot of close calls. And believe me, they are close. There's a couple where you're feeling bad for the umpire because they're like that wasn't obvious, or it was, like a 0.2 of an inch outside or something. Gosh, it's, from game to game, there's going to be some games. Undoubtedly, there's going to be some games where it's huge. An umpire is way off. And then I'm thinking most nights, it's not a big deal. I'll be really interested how many nights, because teams are going to want to save them to a certain extent too. And so how many nights does a team not even challenge any? We all get on the umpires. They're pretty good. Most of them are. There's going to be some guys who are going to be embarrassed this year.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, everyone gets on umpires, to your point. They are better than most. And if we were trying to do that job, it is not easy at all. With the velocities and what they're asked to do, each batter having a different strike zone. You can only imagine being back there. And you're being asked to call a ball or a strike on 300 pitches. Of course you're going to miss some of them.
And that's why this is great that we're going to this.
Exactly.
And I do think it will be interesting. And I'll talk to more guys about it and probably write about it this spring. Is how might it be expanded? What are there some ideas there? Can you add on later in games? This was probably a work in progress.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Kevin Acey's our Padres insider, back with us here on San Diego Sports 760. So there's been obviously some discussion about where Fernando Tatis Jr. ultimately will hit in this lineup. How do you see, he's hit a lot leadoff. Obviously last year, I think all games but 5. Only 5 times did he start a game and not lead off. And I think he hit cleanup in those 5 games. He's batted, in a lot of spots, obviously, over the course of his career. What impact do you see it making on either Tatis or the collective? If he's not hitting leadoff and he's hitting cleanup and he's protecting Manny Machado, what could that mean for Tatis? What could that mean for this team?
And Tatis has at least as good a year or better than last year is what we're kind of assuming there. I think it could be really big. He's going to have to be better. He's just going to have to he was really good much of the year for all the mechanical changes and, little funks that he went in. He was pretty good getting on base last year, and that's not going to be his role, right? It's going back to being Tatis.
Yep.
So that is that's the wild card there. I'm not a huge break down the batting, the lineup and stuff. There are times when it does matter and it can make a big difference. And I absolutely see the logic in this. I might even grow to prefer it as I think about it more, because it did sort of catch me off guard that Toddy would be that low. But John, I don't know. Maybe you should have saved this for the podcast, bro, and we could talk about it. For 20 minutes or something, because there's a lot of ways this could go. If Tatis hits 30 homers and he's going, 30 doubles and all that, that's big. And for Manny Machado's sake, you hope that's who he is, because, Manny, that would help Manny hitting in front of him as well. And it would be gigantic for the Padres.
It's interesting because now you're walking me down this path of like, well, what if they did hit him cleanup all year, and if he was an identical hitter or near identical hitter to last year, what would that really say? It's like I'm under the impression that, listen, as a leadoff hitter, your mentality is a little different. You're asked to do different things, which is completely reasonable. That maybe your power production goes down, you see more pitches, you walk, you set the table. But obviously, as a cleanup hitter, you drive guys in. I'm just kind of walking down a path. I'm kind of assuming that the numbers improve if you bat him cleanup as opposed to leadoff, but I don't know if that's a fair assumption to make or not with Fernando Tatis Jr. because it's been a while.
Here's why I think it could be a fair one. Because even though Tatis kind of blows it off and says, oh, my approach is the same, I can hit anywhere.
Yep.
Other people in the organization say that Tatis changed his approach last year. And that's a compliment, right? To a certain extent, right? Like he was being asked to be the leadoff hitter. To more than others say hitters maybe, Tatis just being Tatis is fine in the leadoff spot, but there were times Tatis was trying to get on base, and he did change things. And like I do think that he would be a different hitter. Plus, if there's guys on base, that can change things too. Versus, how often, not only leading off the first inning, the guy led off a lot of other innings or came up with 2 outs because the bottom of the order till Ramon Laureano showed up was horrible. So, as long as Merrill, I assume Bogarts, maybe it's Laureano up there sometimes, or they got to break it up with the lefty, Merrill, Machado are getting on base, that should change things for Tatis.
Yeah, I think that's well said. So Sungmoon Song, among the notable additions this offseason, he debuts this past weekend. Ultimately, once we get into the season, how do they envision potentially using him?
Depending on how he's hitting, right? Could be in there a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Left-hander, facing righties, could be. If he's not, we're talking about a really good glove and a guy who probably plays third, maybe some short, second, but the hitting is the key. And we'll see. I don't see how anyone could be overly optimistic about a guy coming over from the KBO and coming in and right away tearing up Major League Baseball. We're talking about Double-A to the majors.
Yeah. So, which is So I agree. I completely agree. And I just think back to Hassan Kim, where it felt like he needed some seasoning. He was a good player in San Diego, but it also took a period of time. And I don't know how Sungmoon Song ultimately will compare as a hitter to Hassan Kim. It's probably not fair to either of them. I guess we'll just watch how it plays out. But I'm kind of with you. Like my expectation for 2026 wouldn't be for him to exceed an expectation. It would be for him hopefully to maybe live up to expectation or just be a versatile defender. That's how I kind of see him at least fitting in initially.
And that's why, you sign with this 4-year contract and that's why you do it. And, you're kind of going long-term, and I've written about how there's some long-term possibilities as certain players get older or maybe certain players leave. You need to get some time in left field too. But yes, I think you're right. As a realistic expectations. And if he lives up to them, hey, that was a good first year for a versatile bench player. But we're talking, again, Double-A without the velocity is what the KBO is.
Final one, Kevin, before you go, is just based on the schedule for the players appearing in the WBC. They're basically in camp through this week, and then they'll be going. When do the players like Machado, Tatis, others leave for their WBC roles?
I got to check on this, but I think those guys that are going to the DR, or like if Yuki had gone, he probably would have gone Saturday. I'm almost certain that the Dominican Republic is training in Santo Domingo, so I think those guys are leaving Sunday. The other guys are local; they're leaving Monday. So could be a reliever, and we're talking about relievers now. They could appear on Sunday and then head out to Mesa or Scottsdale, or I think the Netherlands is Xander Bogaerts is in Florida, and so maybe he's leaving Sunday as well. But so through this week, and then they're gone for ostensibly at least 2 weeks, and it just depends on how far they go.
And again, I mean, it's not new to Major League Baseball, but it's still relatively new. But it'll be interesting to watch those games again without some of these players. But then again, that's how spring training is, right? They go on the road. You don't bring regulars with you. They play at home. You see some of the regulars for a handful of innings. And I guess it'll create opportunities.
it's a good thing, right? There it is. The opportunity for these guys, but then also creates a challenge for teams, which are always cautioning, let's not read too much into spring training results, right? So, that will be good though, because one thing they'll get is some of those guys will be able to, those guys trying to make the club or that you thought don't really have a shot, will be starting and facing good pitchers. So that'll be cool. If you're into that kind of thing, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Padres fans are. Again, I think the competitions are, a part of spring training that doesn't necessarily play out in other sports. And yeah, we'll see what kind of storylines evolve over the next handful of weeks. But Kevin, appreciate you taking time for us, and I hope all is well. We'll do it again at some point later this week.
Right on, man. See ya.
Great stuff from our Padres insider, Kevin Acee, here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, I said we're going to hear from Brian Dutcher. We will hear from Brian Dutcher post-game after the loss at, where were we? Colorado State on Saturday afternoon. We'll hear from Dutch. We've got Aztec tickets to give away for their showdown with Utah State on Wednesday night. That's coming up next on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760, John Schaefer, Brent Sperry. We've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away this hour and next for Wednesday night. Good to connect with Kevin Acey. If you missed that, you'll hear it again at 5:30. What do you got, Brent?
And we have 9 Inch Nails tickets.
That's right, 9 Inch Nails. All right, why don't we do? Want to do that this hour as well?
Yeah.
All right, we're giving away 9 Inch Nails tickets this hour. That's March 9th, Pechanga Arena. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. All right, that's cool. That's March 9th. We'll give that away this hour. Again, Aztec tickets for Utah State. You're going to go?
Yeah, I'm going to go.
You got tickets?
I love 9 Inch Nails. Yeah.
You get through. Okay, I love that. All right, so that's coming up in March, and we'll give away tickets to that this hour. All right, I've been telling you you're going to hear from Brian Dutcher for the last hour. San Diego State goes to CSU, Colorado State, and they lose by 9. Colorado State's won 5 consecutive games. The Aztecs have now dropped back-to-back games. This is a game where San Diego State, I mean, CSU hit 13 threes, and the Aztecs did not have an answer. I think Colorado State at one point used like a 30-10 run or 32-10 run in the first half, and the Aztecs could not get closer than 7 in the second half. But I caught up with Dutch post-game. I started it by just asking for his reaction to the game against the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're on a 5-game win streak. They're playing pretty good basketball right now. And we gave them 13 threes. That's a lot of threes to overcome. Interesting called game. It was a lot of touch fouls, and then some you thought you should have had and you didn't. We shot 24 free throws. They shot 29, so a lot of free throws. We took okay of the ball, 12. Second half, our pace was way better offensively. Mm-hmm. We were so sluggish the first half. The second half, I felt like we got into our stuff quicker. We moved. We were harder to guard. And so that made us gave us a chance to get back into the game. But every time we started cutting into it, seems like we put them on the line. You know, they were either making shots or making free throws. Yeah. So we didn't get enough stops. But you can't give in. You know, we got the 2 best teams in the league with us next 2 games. And I said, no one's going to feel sorry for you. If anything, they're going to try to pile on you right now. So there's times in the year when a coach goes in and screams at his team, but not with 4 games left.
Right.
We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in what we're doing. We have to put our work in, and then hopefully we'll be rewarded for hard work. And that's what we're doing. Believing in ourselves. We're going to put our work in, and we're going to try to get this thing turned around our next home game against a very good Utah State team.
What did you think it was that got you back into the game? Because it was at 13 at the break, but all of a sudden, I think 5 minutes into the second half, it was a 7-point game, and you probably had the ball 3 or 4 times in the second half, trailing by 7. What allowed you to get back into this game in the second half?
Just our pace offensively. We played with better pace. You know, I thought Taj, he got to his spots in that stretch. Yep. You know, he had a couple open threes. He had a pull-up jump shot that didn't go in that could have cut the margin closer, but he made magnificent plays to get there. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes your plays aren't rewarded. You know, we didn't get it done. That's it. That's basketball. So, like I said, there'll be plenty of critics, and I'll be one of them. I'll be critical of myself. I'll be critical of plays that we didn't make. But right now, this is not the time to yell and scream and have antics. This is to hold people accountable, and it continues to start and end at practice. Prepare to win, and it'll give you a chance to win, and that's what we're going to do.
What is the biggest challenge against an offense like Colorado State? I mean, Jace Butler's playing some great basketball right now. Kerry Booth was terrific. Rex Steiner is a capable 3-point shooter, obviously. What are the unique challenges of playing a team like Colorado State and this offense?
Oh, they run good offense. They make you guard deep into every possession. Yeah. You know, and then when Rex Steiner gets hot or Booth has a career game against us, you know, those things hurt. So it's basketball. You know, we can't win when we give the other team 13 threes. That's what they made. And then when they weren't making threes, they were making free throws. So they're a very good offensive team. But we had to find a way to fight back and make them feel us late in the second half. We didn't do that. The margin was always 9, 10, 7. We couldn't crack it to 5 or 4 where we 1-2 stops away from getting the win. So we have to find a way to keep the margin closer on the road and stay in these games late.
Did you feel good about getting LZ back out there? LZ Harrington had missed about a month. He ends up playing close to 20 minutes, maybe more than that here today. What is he going to mean for you down the stretch?
Yeah, I love the way LZ plays.
Yeah.
Like I say, LZ practiced hard leading in the game. And Magoon is still banged up. You know, his knee was sore, his back was sore, and so he didn't practice really for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, so to throw him out there and say, Well, now you haven't practiced hard for 2 days. When we're going to throw you out there and you're going to be great, that's hard to do. So we have to work him back into where he's getting hard reps in practice and get his timing up when he gets into these games.
Finally, Dutch, is it easy or challenging just to say, just look ahead? I mean, forget about tonight, look ahead. I mean, obviously you got a great opponent coming up on Wednesday night, so certainly your team will be all ears, I would imagine, in the days leading up to Utah State.
Yeah, we just have to put your work in, John. That's all it is. And I always say hard work isn't always rewarded the day you work hard. Over the course of a season, if we work hard, we'll be rewarded. And with that being said, we're still in second place in the conference. It's not like we're an awful team, but we aspire to greater things than that. We aspire to win the conference. And so now we put ourselves in a tough spot, being 2 down with 4 to go. That's tough sledding now.
Touch, always appreciate the time. We will catch up with you back in San Diego. We'll see a huge game for Aztec fans. Get there Wednesday night, Viejas Arena, Utah State, making its trip to Viejas. It'll be a big game, and we'll see you, Dutch, coming up later this week.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right, what's interesting there, a couple of things, by the way, is that, there was all this speculation, and, you got to be careful with what you see on social media. Like, Jim sees stuff on social media, he freaks out, right? He's like, he just says the most ridiculous things. I'm way more cautious, but I'm aware of what people are saying. And oftentimes what people are saying, it couldn't be further from the truth on social media. Like this idea, I'll give you a specific example. And by the way, Dutch said, hey, we're 2 back with 4 to play. Well, guess what? Utah State lost later that day. So now the Aztecs are 1 back with 4 to play. So Utah State, by the way, lost to Nevada, who had just lost to San Jose State. The point is, it's just another night in the Mountain West. But people are like, oh, I'm looking at the body language of some of these, like Magoon Guath, and I'm making this up. He doesn't want to be out there. I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Guy's coming off a knee. He had like MCL reconstructive surgery. Then he missed a month with a hip. He's listed as questionable coming in, and now, but he doesn't want to be out there. But he gives it a go in the first half. He's not at 100%, and now all of a sudden you're putting 2 plus 2 together and making it 6. It's just like it's oftentimes the people that say the most kind of know the least, So, and listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think sometimes the opinions can go too far, and I would say this with the Padres as well. Like, it's one thing to be critical of Manny Machado; it's another thing to say Manny Machado quit. It's one thing to be critical of the Aztecs; another thing to say a player or a team quit, in my opinion. Anyway, if you want to go Wednesday, where first place is on the line, call right now. Caller 5, you're going. San Diego State, Utah State, 2 free tickets. 877-767-4760. 877-767-4760. Caller 5, you're going. 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs battle for first place Wednesday night at Viejas Arena, their second to final home game of the year. On the other side, we'll get to the wrap. That's coming up next on San Diego Sports 760.
The support is sponsored by the Red Pill America podcast. The Winter Olympics has come and gone, and Norway was the big winner. They came in first with a total of 41 medals. The U.S. and Italy came in second and third with 33 and 30 respectively. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to throw the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. We have Big 12 basketball tonight when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on number 8 Kansas. Our pregame coverage will begin as soon as the show is done at 6 o'clock.
Why are there so many big tech monopolies? This week on Red Pilled America, we tell the untold origin story of YouTube and how its founders hijacked the idea for a video sharing site to build a Silicon Valley behemoth. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. We've got 9 Inch Nails tickets, not 9 Inch Nails. We have 9 Inch Nails tickets to give away. March 9th, they're performing Pechanga Arena. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. We're doing that this hour. Then next hour, another chance to win Aztec tickets for Wednesday night against Utah State. So we'll give those away. Coming up next hour, you heard it there. We've got college hoops coming up tonight as well. Big one, Houston and Kansas in the Big 12. So that's coming up tonight at 6 p.m.
The Big 12 has kind of sneakily been like, I don't know if that's even a word. Yeah, this year they've been like, I don't think anyone was going to be like, oh yeah, the best conference in basketball this year is easily the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, they just have at the top of the league, Brent, like Arizona, Houston, Kansas, and I'm probably BYU's been really good, obviously, with the future potential number 1 overall pick and AJ DeBanza. I'm missing teams in there. They're just, I think the bottom isn't great because there's a lot of teams now in these power leagues, but the top is incredible. I mean, to your point, you're getting every week, you're getting like Arizona, Kansas, Houston, Arizona. So you're getting these really intriguing matchups here late in the season. All right, we normally get to the Rapid Four, but let's get to it right now.
It's time for the Wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Will San Diego FC be better this season than they were last season?
So they start the regular season with a 5-0 win over Montreal. Like, you don't have to know a lot about soccer to know that beating someone 5-0 is a resounding win. I mean, a dominant win. It's hard to do that at any level of professional soccer, including Major League Soccer. And I don't know how many times last year SDFC won by 5 or more goals. My guess would be not many, if any. So a dominant effort on opening night at Snapdragon Stadium. And it does leave you with that question. Like, yeah, they don't have Chucky Lozano, but they do have a lot back. And could they be better? They were in the Western Conference Finals, not just in it, they hosted it this past year. So better than last year, I think, is reaching an MLS Cup, if not winning an MLS Cup. So it's very lofty expectations, but how can you not be anything but impressed? Remember last year they went to the MLS Champs in LA and they won their first ever match. This year at home, they win 5-0 to kick off year number 2. Next question.
Can the Aztecs still win the Mountain West regular season title?
I mean, 2 things are true. Yes, and it's not easy. You know, I mean, they've lost 2 straight, but they're only 1 game out of first place. You know, if the Padres had lost 2 straight, but were 1 back with 4 to play and playing the team in front of them, let's say the Dodgers, to wrap up a weekend series, if you're 1 back with 4 to play and playing the Dodgers, wouldn't you still feel good about your chances? And that's kind of where the Aztecs are. Again, challenging games ahead. Utah State Wednesday, very challenging. Utah State has 4 losses all year. But San Diego State at its best is fully capable of winning that game. And then you go to New Mexico, you go to Boise, you finish at home against UNLV. So it starts with 1 game. And if you win on Wednesday, huge confidence booster. I just think all of a sudden you feel a lot better about their chances over the final week or 2 of the regular season. So yeah, of course they still can. They actually control their own destiny with 4 to play. They control their own destiny with 4 to play. So yes, they can win the regular season title. And yes, it will not be easy either. Next question.
Was U.S. Hockey's overtime winner against Canada an all-time great Olympic moment?
I think it is. I think it is. I don't think it's going to be remembered as like, you know, it's hard. I don't have a great historical feel for Olympic moments, but let's just use the Winter Olympics, you know, as their own, as opposed to the Summer Olympics. It's not Lake Placid. You know, I mean, they weren't like, it wasn't a complete miracle to even be on the ice, you know, with Russia in 1980. Like that was like, it couldn't even be seen or forecasted. This was more of a coin flip, I would imagine, heading into this match. If the U.S. was an underdog, it wasn't like they were some significant underdog. It's the manner in which it ended and just everything that surrounded the match that I think will allow it to kind of stand the test of time in U.S. Olympic history. And the U.S. had not won an Olympic gold in hockey since 1980. That's a true lifetime ago. I mean, me and Brent are in our 40s and we're born in 1980. So it is a true lifetime ago. So I think it's a significant moment. I don't think it's the biggest moment in U.S. Olympic history, but I think it's among the bigger moments in U.S. Olympic, or at least Winter Olympic history, would be my guess. Next question.
Should Fernando Tatis Jr. bat cleanup in 2026?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I like it. You know, I've been a big believer in Tatis as a leadoff hitter in his career, but it's a little bit of been there, done that. Saw it a lot last year. He played like 150 games as a leadoff hitter, and he was fine. Got on base at a good clip. He saw a lot of pitches, but his power was down. Inarguably, his power was down. Now, it's not just last year. His power has been down since 2021, and they need to find that 30-plus home run hitter again, or even 40-plus home runs like he hit in 2021. I just think that by putting him in the cleanup spot, you're asking him to be the slugger that he was earlier in his career. I think when you put him in the leadoff spot, you're asking him to be a patient, more well-rounded hitter, which is great if he capitalizes on that. But I think all things being equal, do I want the high on base percentage or do I want the high slugging percentage and home runs? And I think I would take Tatis at his best as a cleanup hitter as opposed to Tatis at his best as a leadoff hitter. What do you think, Brent?
My whole thing, this just shows you like how bad the Padres were with runners in scoring position last year, that they're going to move. They're thinking about moving him to bat cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he in 105 at bats with runners in scoring position, Tatis hit 248.
Okay.
Batting in the cleanup spot last year, and granted, he only hit there 18 times last year. He hit 167 in the number 4 hole last year.
In the 18 at bats, you're saying?
Yes.
He was 3 for 18.
Yes.
Such a
small sample size.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
But you would think that, they would put him at cleanup because, oh, well, look at his, runners scoring position last year. He hit 387 or something like that, to where, we got to put him in that position. But, 248 isn't that good. It just kind of goes to show you just how bad they were with runners in scoring position, that they're going to put him in the cleanup spot and they're acting like, we're going to get Babe Ruth there in his prime.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is wishful. It's like it's not as simple. It's right. It is a good point. Like I'm making it out to be like, oh, here's a good idea. Just bat him cleanup. And because runners will be on base, certainly he'll hit 40 home runs. No, it's not that simple. To your point, it's not nearly that simple. Now, I think it might have a twofold benefit. You protect Machado and ask Tatis to hit for more power. And, maybe it's beneficial for one or both of them in that equation. But no, I'm with you. It is not a guarantee. And again, I look at Fernando Tatis Jr.'s career, and there was a clear line where there was one Fernando Tatis Jr. and there's been another Fernando Tatis Jr. For example, through 2021, Fernando Tatis Jr. was on a unbelievable offensive trajectory, one of the best the game has ever seen. He was a 965 OPS player through the 2021 season, which was his age 21 season, which is absurd, right? Because he's now, how old is Tatis? He's 26? He's 27. So in 2001, he was 22. So anyway, through 2021, he's a 965 OPS hitter. What has he been since? And I'm going to tell you right now, and it's nowhere near as good. Since, come on, Baseball Reference. It's right around 800 on base plus slugging is what he's been since 2021. And, you can have every excuse in the book. And I've seen them, from viewers and listeners and on social media. And, I think most people agree he's not the same player offensively. Now, some people say, well, here's why. I just, I continue to go down the path of, if you want to shake that, you're going to have a season like 2020 or 2021. if you're Toddy. And unfortunately, when you miss a season because of injury and PED suspension, that's going to be tied to you, whether it's fair or not. I'm not tying that to him. His numbers are tying that to him. To shed that, you got to go out and hit 38 home runs sooner rather than later. Not every year, but I think you completely shed that if you go back to being an 875 OPS player. Consider this, his first 3 years, 969, 937, 975 on base plus slugging. His last 3 years, 770, 833, 814. That's not comparable. That's not comparable. You're not a 965 guy to an 800 guy. That's a big drop. So that's on Tatis. And it's not just as simple as moving him to the cleanup spot to solve everything if you're Fernando Tatis Jr. But we'll see if it does mean anything for Fernando in 2026. We'll give away 9 Inch Nails tickets on the other side. If you missed our conversation with Kevin Acee, you'll hear that at 5:30. We have more Aztec tickets to give away as well in the 5 o'clock hour for Wednesday night. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. If you like 9 Inch Nails, then stay with us because we're giving away tickets to their upcoming show in San Diego. Give away tickets in about 7 minutes. 9 Inch Nails, March 9th, Pechanga Arena. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Next hour, we'll give away Aztec tickets for Wednesday night. That showdown at Viejas between SDSU and Utah State. We'll hear from Reese Dixon Waters in the 5 o'clock hour as well, what he had to say to me post-game. And Kevin Acey, if you missed Kevin, you'll hear that coming up at 5:30 as well. Did you see what Tariq Skubal is going to do this spring?
Yes.
He's trying to, this is like trying to land an inside straight a little bit, where he wants to pitch for WBC, but he also wants to ramp up for the Major League season. What he just described wanting to do is the problem with the WBC. Because you want the WBC to matter, but you also want the regular season to matter. And that's a tough putt, so to speak. So I'm actually not a proponent of what he's attempting to do, which is I'm going to make one start for Team USA in the WBC, and then I'm going to go back to spring training to get ready for the season. It's like I'm not a big believer in doing something without putting both of your feet in it. Like, you're either on the WBC team or you're not. You're going to pitch in pool play, right, the opening round, but you're not going to pitch when it's the quarterfinals or the finals. So you're going to help me to some extent, but not to a full extent. As in, just be in or out. And I respect it either way. If you don't want to do it, you tell me the Tigers are more important. I completely get it. I would agree. I tend to feel the exact same way. Or if you told me, hey, I'm in it because I want to win it, then I would understand it and respect it because the WBC has gained credibility over the years. I don't recall yesterday for Team USA, Jack Hughes saying, I'll play the first couple of games. Or, I'll play in the first period, but I'm not going to play in overtime. Like that, it's not a good way to approach something, in my opinion. It's like, sometimes you just need to make a decision. You can't be all things to all people. I'm going to be a good teammate to the Tigers. I'm going to be a good teammate to Team USA for the WBC. It's like, so you got to choose, man. I mean, Nick Pivetta is in camp because he chose camp. Jackson Merrill's in camp because he's prioritizing that. So I get it. It creates some challenges, but I don't think you can do both if you're Tariq Skubal.
I wonder if this was like a compromise that the ball club made with him, that we're like, look, we're not going to be, a bunch of jerks and tell you that you can't go play and represent our country, but we also don't want you going there and, pitching 3 games and, coming back, with your arm all, out of whack. So I kind of wonder if they're like, okay, we'll let you go, but you're only allowed to throw one start and it has to be before X date.
Could be.
And he's just like, okay, that's fine with me. Cause then that way I can at least go and at least make one start and say that I did something, opposed to, you remember a couple of years ago, like Yu Darvish was on the Japanese team, but he didn't actually play or do any. He's essentially the Jason Tatum of the Japanese team, right, where he was just there, but they didn't use him.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if he's just gonna, throw that like the first or second game, and then he's just gonna kind of be a decoration there on the bench.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. Like, guess what, Tariq? We don't need you against Brazil. Like, we don't need you against
Shots fired, Brazil.
We don't need you against Great Britain, right? Like, you don't need you against Italy. You know who we need you against? Team Japan, the Dominican team. That would be my guess. There is no question the U.S. is getting out of the pool play. They're playing the games in America against Great Britain. Brent read off their major leaguers. They have like 1.5. And U.S. has 30. It's the miracle on grass for Great Britain, right? If they win that game. So you're not losing to Brazil. I don't, in fact, why would you even risk your health to pitch 4 innings against Brazil? You can roll anyone out there and beat Brazil. Sorry, Brazil. Like you said, unintended, strays towards Brazil. It's just like the way this sport works. Like, all that matters here, nobody's gonna be like, hey, Team USA, I'm so glad you beat Brazil in pool play, but then lost the WBC final to Japan. Nobody cares about pool play. because you could just roll a ball out there, which you don't do in baseball, and you could beat Brazil, and you can beat Italy, and you could beat Great Britain, and presumably I think you beat Mexico. They play those 4 teams. So I haven't looked at the entirety of those rosters, but you got to be kidding me if Team US doesn't think they can get out of pool play by winning 3 or more of those 4 games. They should win all 4 of those games. Where it gets tougher is when everything's on the line for the final or whatever in Miami and Tariq Skubal's on the sideline. If anything, that's what I want him available to me, not in pool play.
That's what they got Paul Skeens for. He doesn't have anything to play for during their regular season. Skubal's going to be in a playoff chase. They need him. Skeens, let him go out there and throw his arm out. It's not going to make any difference on the Pirates season.
I mean, listen, he just got a deal in arbitration, which means he's got a lot of money due to him. I understand it. That's why I'm saying make a choice. You're getting $32 million in arbitration. If you don't want to pitch for Team USA, don't. And he's even quoted as saying, like in this ESPN article, I'm trying to do both things. And he thinks this is the best of both worlds. I'm like, you start doing stuff like that and you get yourself in a little bit of hot water. It's like, what's your priority? It's like the night before you start, are you out at a gala? Probably not. Like, could you be out at a gala? Yeah, but should you be resting up for your start? And could it be tricky to do both potentially? Yes. So I see this the same way. It's like, if you go into anything not 100% prepared for it at the professional athlete level, it can be challenging. Now, maybe not for Tariq Skubal. Maybe he just falls out of bed against Team Brazil and goes 4 hitless innings. He probably does. But I'm like, if you're going to do that, do it. If you're going to pitch against Brazil, pitch in the semifinal or pitch in the final when the thing is actually going to be on the line and determined.
Yeah, to your point, we could throw Clayton Kershaw's old ass out there and he'll probably throw a 5-hit shutout against Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so, and it's all, I don't really know what it is. Is it the pressure? Like Team USA recognizes you should be on the team, or to your point, it's a compromise because the club is like, yo, this is a $32 million arbitration deal. It's a massive year for you as well. We'll work with you, but to only some extent. That's kind of my issue with something like the WBC because there's like qualifiers by it. Well, this team had some of their top major leaguers, or this team had this, but not to its fullest extent. It's like either do it or don't. If the WBC is going to be treated like it's Olympic hockey, then do it. But if it's going to be treated somewhere between spring training and Olympic hockey, then I'm not sure what we're really doing. And that would be my knock on Tariq Skubal's decision and just the WBC in general. Because I'm telling you right now, there's not one Tiger fan on earth that cares what Tariq Skubal does against Brazil, especially if there's a setback related to his play during the season. There's no Tiger fan that cares. Like, if there is, I'd like to meet that Tigers fan. You can come into the studio. All right, call right now if you want 9 Inch Nails tickets. March 9th, Pechanga Arena. Caller 5, you are going. 877-767-4760. This is in 2 weeks. We have a pair of tickets to see 9 Inch Nails March 9th at Pechanga Arena, the day after my son turns 7. 877-767-4760. Great giveaway. Caller 5, you are going. We're going to hear from Reese Dixon Waters and Kevin Acee in the 5 o'clock hour and give away Aztec tickets for Wednesday night against Utah State. That's all ahead right here on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by the Carol Markowitz Show. The Winter Olympics, I almost said summer. The Winter Olympics have come and gone, and Norway was the big medal winner. They came in first place with a total of 41 medals. The U.S. and Italy came in second and third, respectively, with 33 and 30. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to put the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. And we have Big 12 basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on number 8 Kansas. Our coverage will begin right after the show at 6:00.
Hi, it's Carol Markowitz. Join me on the Carol Markowitz Show for insightful conversations with Dominic Green, Wall Street Journal contributor, and Algemaier's Corey Walker. You don't want to miss it. Listen to the Carol Markowitz Show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, final hour on San Diego Sports 760. We do have that Houston, Kansas Big 12 tilt coming up at 6 p.m. Also this hour, your chance to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego State, Utah State. Like an amazing giveaway. They have 2 home games remaining, and first place is on the line for all the doom and gloom, for all the sky is falling. First place is on the line on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. at VA House Arena. So we'll give away some tickets coming up for that game. Coming up, we'll give away those tickets coming up this hour. The game is Wednesday at 8 p.m. If you missed Kevin Acee, we will share that conversation with you coming up at 5:30. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, at 5:30 on San Diego Sports 760. I haven't really summarized the first weekend of spring training because there's only 2 real topics for me. I'm not getting into like this guy went 1 for 2 and this guy went 0 for 2. No one cares. There's 2 things to me that stand out. One, which is what Craig Stammen has done with Fernando Tatis Jr. Clearly, there's an emphasis on putting him lower in the lineup because he was essentially only a leadoff hitter last year, like 150 plus starts at leadoff and 5 spots at cleanup. So now they've been batting him either 4th or 3rd. All right. So they're going to move him down in the lineup. What impact is that going to have? We've talked about it over parts of the last couple of hours. The other story we did touch on with Kevin, and you'll hear more on that at 5:30, is Randy Vasquez, who's going to be in your rotation, which I think now is encouraging. A year ago, it was kind of smoke and mirrors, Randy Vasquez, but with decent results. He helped get you where you were trying to go, which is the postseason. Now with Randy Vasquez, you got a guy throwing like 98. Like what? He was throwing like 92 last year. And now he's throwing 98. So what is that going to mean potentially for your rotation? Because it was seen as if you had like these 3 starters that are drop off, right? Like when you thought about Pivetta and King and who am I missing? Musgrove. Now again, King coming off injury, Musgrove coming off injury. But you hear the names and you're thinking that you got the 3 at the top of the heap and then everyone else. But if Randy Vasquez is going to improve his performance from last year and throw 98, then there's a scenario where you're lumping him in with the Musgroves and maybe the Kings and Pavettas, right? I think that's fair. And the only reason I say that is because of the way the season played out for King and Musgrove. Like if King was coming off 2024, I wouldn't lump him in with Randy Vasquez because Randy Vasquez is throwing 98. If Musgrove was coming off a healthy year, I wouldn't lump him in with Randy Vasquez. But it's like, hold on, Vasquez is increasing his velocity and coming off, a decent year with room for growth. And Joe Musgrove's coming off a year in which he didn't pitch because of Tommy John. And Michael King is coming off a year in which he didn't throw 100 innings last year. So I do think there's a world where Randy Vasquez can look more similar to Musgrove and King potentially in 2026. Now I'm hoping for good production from King and Musgrove. And I'm not saying they're gonna struggle, but I would like to see Randy Vasquez, pitch like a top 3 guy in a rotation. And I do think that's at least plausible. I think it's plausible in 2026. So that to me, those are the stories for me. It's Randy Vasquez is going to be in your rotation. Is he going to be improved? And if he is, that's very encouraging. And Fernando Tatis Jr., of course, is going to be a huge part of your team. Where is he going to hit for you? And it sounds like he's going to hit potentially cleanup a lot more often in 2026 than he did in 2025. Brent had it earlier. He had 18 at-bats. 18 at bats in the cleanup spot is nothing. He was 3 for 18 or whatever it was a year ago, but I think we may see more of that coming up here in 2026. All right. I also want to get back to the Aztecs because Reese Dixon Waters did join me post game following Saturday's loss to Colorado State. Frustrating game, but for the players, for the coaches. We heard from Brian Dutcher earlier, and San Diego State, for 5-6 minutes came out of the gates playing decently well. I think they led 13-7. Then it was basically all Colorado State. Aztecs made a couple of second half runs, but couldn't get closer to 7. Ultimately lost by 9. So now they've lost back-to-back games, and now they get Utah State on Wednesday night. So I started my conversation with Reese postgame by asking him what made the game in general so difficult against CSU.
I think they set the tone defensively. They didn't let us get into our sets, get into our actions early on. And that obviously as an offensive player and as a team that frustrates you.
Yeah.
Then on offense, they were getting whatever they wanted. They were getting offensive rebounds. They were converting on backdoor cuts, baseline drives, slot drives, kicking out to threes. They really got whatever they wanted. So I think that also starts with us in practice. We got to be better. Personally, I just feel like the last 2 practices we've had, we just weren't locked in as a team. So I think we just got to be better.
Do you feel as if, or what was it that allowed you to make a run to start the second half? Because you got it down to 7.
Yeah.
And it felt like you played, I don't know what it was, but maybe a more inspired effort in the second half overall?
Yeah. We were down. Obviously we're on the road. It's going to be hard to get a win on the road anyways. But, coaches, they say what they had to say. And, we took that into consideration, going in the second half. And also as players, we have our own mindset on what we need to do. So we tried to do what we could to win the game, but it was too late. They're a good team. If they get up that much and, their offense is running like that, they're a very hard team to beat, especially with the way they shoot the ball and get offensive rebounds. It's a hard team to beat.
Over the course of a season, better than I do, there are highs and lows, whether it's early, middle, late in the year. As a veteran player on this team, how do you kind of level the ship for your teammates and look at still what's to come? Because there's still a lot in front of this team moving forward.
Yeah, I would say take it one game at a time instead of looking at it like we have 4 games left. Look at it like we have 1. That's how I look at it. We have Utah State next, so that's all my mind's on. I'm now thinking about New Mexico or the conference tournament or what we got to do to make March Madness. Right now I'm looking at, we got a very good team coming in that beat us at their home floor, so we got to protect ours.
What's it like to get LZ Harrington back in the fold? He had missed a month. You got him back. He probably played 20-plus minutes here today. What's that going to mean down the stretch?
No, it's great. I talked to LZ a lot about, whatever's going on with him. And, I'm not going to put his business out there, but, he's very confident coming into the game. He was ready to practice. He looked good. Obviously, after a month of not playing, I know what it felt like to come off of a few months. So, he looked good out there, though. He looked comfortable like himself. Obviously, like next 2 games, he'll be back all the way, I think, because he'll be back fully practicing all the time. But, he did really good, and I think he helped us a lot.
Reese, appreciate your time. Again, we'll see you Wednesday night at Viejas. Big game against Utah State. Appreciate it in defeat. We'll see you this upcoming week, all right?
Thank you. I think they set the
tone. All right,
tone.
so again, Reese Dixon Waters, that was post-game. And again, clear frustration. One of my favorite players, by the way, to connect with post-game because he's so authentic and he's so thoughtful. And you can kind of hear it in the pace in which he speaks because he really does listen to the question and then try to give you a real answer, and you could hear it. I mean, they're frustrated, and I think it's a lot of that, really. I mean, I completely get it. Like 2 games ago, you're 12-2, and in first place in the Mountain West, and you're leading at halftime against Grand Canyon. Then you don't play well in the second half, and you lose that game, and then you go to Colorado State and you lose that game. But especially, you think about players like Reese Dixon Waters. This is final college year. Like, I can be convinced of nothing other than all he wants to do is win. That's all that matters at this point. Like, his college days are numbered. His sole focus is on putting this team in a position to win. And unfortunately, they haven't won these last 2 games. You got veteran players like Miles Byrd, 4th year at San Diego State. His first year they played for national championship. Like, you got players that are here to win, right? Miles Byrd returned to be here. Magungwath returned to be here. And the thing is, over the course of a season, there's adversity, and they're dealing with it in real time. They're dealing with real adversity. Did people envision this playing out differently? Yeah, I'm sure they did as well. I'm sure when Reese Dixon Waters and Miles Byrd and Magungwath spoke in the offseason, they had a goal in mind that put them not just in the NCAA tournament, but winning games. in the NCAA tournament. Well, here's the thing. It's still possible and in front of them. They control their own destiny to win the regular season. Yes, they have to beat Utah State on Wednesday. And beyond that, San Diego State's been a historical tough out in the Mountain West tournament where they've played for a championship run 7 of the last 8 years, although it didn't last year, but 7 of 8 years under Brian Dutcher. So I think you sense the frustration, obviously, with the team because they're disappointed. When they got to 12-2, they've lost back-to-back games. We heard from Brian Dutcher. He expressed, obviously, some frustration in there as well. The fans are frustrated. I would just say, take a deep breath for a moment. And let's see what plays out Wednesday night. Wednesday, to me, Brent, is so critical because you don't win it. Now you go to New Mexico and you're looking at, a 3+ game losing streak. You do win it. And all of a sudden, you're back tied for first place in the Mountain West.
It's one of those things where if they do what they're supposed to do and they win the games, everything else should just, fall into place. So, starting Wednesday, they just have to go out and beat Utah. And, easier said than done, but they have to go out and beat Utah State, beat New Mexico on Saturday. And who's the last?
Boise is on the road for their senior night, then UNLV at home.
Okay. So, you just have to, starting Wednesday, if you win those last 4 games, I think everything else will just kind of fall into place. So just, go out there and do what you need to do. And, I think as long as you win those last 4 games, I think everything will work out.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I stick by what I said earlier, which is it's going to be really hard. Like you could play, San Diego State could play really well Wednesday night and lose. Play a team in the top 25 of the metrics that has 4 losses this year. And what will people say if that plays out? Sometimes you just got to say, like, you're playing competition that is, the Mountain West at the top of the league is good. Like, sometimes you just got to say that. Like, it's not like they're losing to Air Force, all due respect, but they're 0-16 in the league and they've lost 20 or 21 straight, or 0-17 in the league with a 20 or 21 game losing streak. So that's not what has happened here. So let's see what happens on the other side. And, I think Wednesday night, hopefully, what I sense every time San Diego State is on the road is every time they're playing one of these teams, it's their biggest game. They got the color out, like the orange out, and it feels like the Super Bowl, where I think on Wednesday night, Aztec fans and the team in general need to make it feel like it's their Super Bowl against Utah State. Like, you got to use all of that to your advantage, knowing how hard it is to win a game like that. And hopefully that's enough to get the team over the edge. Because I go back to the game in Logan. That place was insane. And they were willed to the win, it felt, by the crowd. Think back to Grand Canyon, that crowd. CSU the other day. Viejas has an incredible atmosphere and crowd. And it's got to be fully on display Wednesday night, despite the fact that they've lost 2 straight games. All right, they've lost 2 straight games. Well, guess what? They're playing for first place as well on Wednesday. All right, we'll give away tickets for that game coming up on the other side. Plus, we'll get back to the Padres, and we'll hear from Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, at 5:30. We're here until 6. We have college hoops coming up at 6 p.m. Houston and Kansas tonight from Lawrence. That's coming up at 6 p.m. Stay with us here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, we have Aztec tickets. We'll give those away coming up in 10 minutes. We'll hear from Kevin Acee in 15 minutes. And we do want to congratulate our $5,000 winners in iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher making a difference. And maybe they'll be one of our next winners of $5,000 to make over their classroom. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. You'll find this funny, Brent. So my wife told me to get this, like, it's not even a watch. It's like a band that tracks your everything, right? Like from stress to steps.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. Everyone's got them, right? Whether it's an iWatch or there's so many different variations of like the health-related band. So it's a health-related band. Well, here's the thing. I don't want this thing telling me that I'm stressed out. It's like I just got a notification like, oh, you spent an hour today at a high stress. I'm like, well, yeah, because I lost the radio equipment as I was sharing earlier, and I didn't know where it was, and then it randomly showed back up to San Diego International, thankfully. So I feel like I'm less stressed now, but maybe I'm not. I think it might be reacting to my stress of the show. And like, I don't know.
Wait until it starts complaining about your heart rate and stuff like that.
I know. It's like I didn't buy you so you could tell me how terrible I like. Which now I guess I bought it so it would tell me if I'm like dying. It's like you need to get more sleep. I'm like, listen, bud. Like, okay, well, what are you doing with your time? I'm not an app, but it's like everything sounds good in theory. Like sleep 8.5 hours and wake up and do 15 minutes of meditation. I'm like, but it's not realistic is the point.
Yeah, no, it reminds me every night that I need to go to bed.
Oh, does it really? Yeah.
Well, because I have a sleep schedule set.
Yeah, me too.
So like every night at what time? Because my thing is set that I'm supposed to go to bed at like 11 o'clock. So at like 10:30 or something, I'll get a notification that will say, hey, it's time to start winding down and getting ready for bed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like sometimes it's going to be beneficial, but it's some of it is like the more you know. Like think about this. It's 2026. The human race has been around for a while. Now, there've been better eras and worse eras. Do I believe that people are living longer now because of modern medicine? Yeah, by and large, I do. I mean, you go back not that long and you didn't have people living into their 80s and their 90s. Shoot, you go back not that long, you didn't have people living into their 40s and 50s, probably. But do we want to know everything at all times? Is always an interesting question. Like, and I think the answer is no. It's like, have you heard this before, Brian? It's like, we see ads for it now. It's like, hey, go into this doctor's office and they can forecast whether or not you'll have any of these 100 cancers. They'll tell you before you have them that you are predisposed for lung cancer. I'm making it up, right? Or predisposed for colon cancer, right? And yeah, inherently there are some benefits, I think, in knowing that, maybe to get some checkups. But then aren't you going to spend the next 30 years worrying about colon cancer that you don't currently have? So I'm 29. I'm predisposed to colon cancer, but I may not develop it until I'm 74. So what am I supposed to do for the next 45 years?
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway. And actually, I can tie it to sports pretty easily. I've said this a lot. You get into sports like professional baseball, and you have to discern information. There's way too much information. You can't tell Fernando Tatis Jr., hey, here's your swing plane, and here's your exit velo, and here's the you gotta make it simple. Sometimes you can have all this information coming in, and you're trying to make it spit out just one or two things. The key is take the information and apply it. So Fernando Tatis Jr., again, I'm making this up, is grounding out too often. How can you take the data coming in about that and apply it to him where it becomes relevant to him? That he can actually change his stance or his swing that's going to be beneficial. Because, yeah, again, today, do we have more data coming in for Major League Baseball, college basketball, NBA, football analytically? No question, undoubtable. But that doesn't mean today the hitters are better equipped than they were 35 years ago. Tony Gwynn didn't have that. Would Tony Gwynn have been a better hitter with all this information available to him? Or was he just innately a great hitter? And I would argue the latter. He was just innately a great hitter.
Well, yeah, because you still have to execute.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, they would have cried like they did about the shift because they just would have, hit the ball on the left or right side of the field where there was nobody, but they couldn't do that. And so they had to outlaw it because they couldn't just, drop a bunt on the opposite side or just hit a little bloop single, just to get in. A bloop single that would have turned into a double almost every time, even if you're fat and slow, because there'd be nobody around the ball.
Anywhere near it. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it goes back. I made this point, I think, a week ago. I'm like, when I watch you watch practice for San Diego State, and it's like they have all this film available to them, but they're not going to go over everything, right? Like you have to be able to apply it to your team. Your team's not going to be sitting there with a pen and a pad writing down 442 things they need to do better. That's not realistic. But there's certainly areas that you want them to improve in, and you have to be able to take the data, the analytics, the film, and say, here are the 3 things we need to do collectively or individually to put ourselves in a position to win. But I've thought that sometimes with all the data we get, like look at this screen, Brent. Like, what does it even mean sometimes? Like, make it make sense. With the more and more we get, the more digital we become, the more reliant we are on technologies in general. Simplify it for me is what I would say. Don't tell me I don't need my stress levels every 14 seconds. Just tell me what I should be doing to potentially lower my stress. But it should come as no surprise that I'm stressed out, by the way, just in general is what I've been saying.
I wish mine would do a better job of tracking. Like every once in a while, it'll be like, hey, it looks like you're going out for a walk. You want us to track that? But only does it like sporadically. It doesn't do it every.
Weird.
Well, because see, it doesn't count my dog walks.
Weird.
Because we stop too much.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
You have to be in a continuous
Constant
walk in order for them to go, oh, your heart rate's going so and so, so you must be, working out. You want us to include this walk on your thing. But yeah, like I said, me and Peanut go out, especially on the weekends, like 6-7 times a day. It doesn't count a single one of those walks as my thing because we stop too often, so it doesn't count.
That is weird. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. All right. Anyway, this is a long way of me saying if you want to go see the Aztecs Wednesday night, call right now. We have a free pair of Aztec tickets for Wednesday's game against Utah State, where if San Diego State wins, they'll be tied for first place in the Mountain West Conference. So a huge game. The Aztecs have lost 3 straight over the last 2 years to Utah State, and they will look to exact some revenge. 877-767-4760. Caller 6, you're going. San Diego State, Utah State, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Viejas Arena. First place on the line. 877-767-4760. Caller 6, you are going. Kevin Acee on the other side on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Staples. The Winter Olympics have come and gone, and Norway was number 1 in terms of medal count with 41. The U.S. and Italy finished second and third, respectively, with 33 and 30 medals. In NFL news, the Falcons plan to throw the franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts, which will prevent him from becoming a free agent. And tonight at 6 o'clock, we have Big 12 basketball when number 2 Houston goes on the road to take on Kansas. Like I said, our coverage will begin right after the show at 6 o'clock. Staples has hot deals and super low prices on everything for your business. And right now, brand your business at Staples with up to 30% off custom labels. Exclusions apply. Shop Staples in-store, online, or in the app. Ends April 18th. Visit staples.com/print for details.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. We caught up with Kevin Acee earlier today, our Padres insider from Peoria. Padres did win today, by the way, but we started the conversation just by asking, like, through what lens do you watch spring training games?
Less and less as the Padres are good. Am I truly like engaged for, for a long periods of time or for a great swath of the game? I mean, yeah, you want to watch when Miguel Andujar comes up, that type of player. And you know what? Increasingly, as these guys like Romeo Sanabria, Carlos Rodriguez, Jose Miranda, a couple other guys that are really raking early as that kind of heats up. And it's like, can one of those guys unseat, Bryce Johnson for that 13th position player spot? Then I'll pay attention to those. But it can get a little rough. Today was full of good relievers. But the reality is a bunch of guys who are gonna make the team. Mason Miller, I'll be honest, I checked later to look at his location, his velocity, but I had a lot to do. I was talking to a lot of people. Mason Miller's gonna be on this team. I'm not a scout or a coach. I don't need to watch Mason Miller all that closely on February 23rd.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, I've always looked at it through the lens of spring training is kind of made for starting pitchers to be built up. I mean, I know there's way more than that, but you can't go into a season with a guy throwing 1 inning. So you want to give him the necessary starts to be able to, get through 75 plus pitches, let's say, when the season starts. But when I look at, you had a note in here where they're, the guys in their 40-man roster position players have gotten off to a slow start, which is factually correct. But I look at it and I think you're the same way. I don't even care. I want to see them healthy. Right. But at the end of the day, Tatis could hit 315 in the spring. It doesn't mean he's hitting 315 in the regular season, and vice versa. He could hit 115 in the spring. Doesn't mean he's hitting 115 once we get underway.
Right. I'm sure there's going to be someone who reads the spring training game box that you're talking about, where I talk about the starting players, and then also read the story I'm about to post on the potential length of their lineup and goes, well, wait a minute. Right. I thought those guys weren't hitting. And okay, all right. But yeah, look, you are totally spot on. And that's what I think most baseball people would say about spring training and starting pitchers. And by the way, I locked in on Randy, especially when I see his pitches coming in like they were yesterday, Randy Vasquez. And look, I was locked in on JP Sears until, a couple batters in.
Right.
But that was his first start. And Craig Stammen he's interesting, man. Former pitcher and a guy who was sometimes was fighting to make a team. He has a great tolerance for pitchers having bad spring training outings early.
Yeah, and again, he didn't make it out of the first inning, right? JP Sears today.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, is with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Let's discuss Vasquez's debut more, because I guess the key here is I was reading that, first of all, he finished last year, his velocity was up, and now he starts spring, and maybe he's fighting for a job or a spot somewhere, to slate into that rotation as number 3, 4, 5, whatever it's going to be, and his velocity once again is up. That's got to be really encouraging for the Padres, right? Because here was a guy that was not throwing nearly as hard probably 12 months ago, and from 12 months until now, his velocity's got to be up at least a couple miles per hour.
Right. And, comparing apples to apples, and I wrote about it today, came in out of shape last year. And,
Gotcha.
and his velo was, I think, exactly 5 miles an hour. His average was exactly 5 miles an hour greater yesterday than a year earlier, his first spring training start. So, like, that's big. And why is it big? Well, I mean, yeah, velo's big. 97 is kind of, that'd be good for a starter if he could maintain that in a game, which he did once at the end of last year, but also with his stuff, which enabled him to have a sub-4 ERA last year, enabled him to get out of a lot of jams. If the velo can be there and he can start getting more swing and miss, maybe there aren't as many jams, maybe there's some longer outings. So yeah, that is very promising for the Padres.
How do you think ABS, automatic balls and strikes, which you've seen each of the last 2 springs and has already been playing out, and I think as you've been writing about, both of these catchers, Campy and Fermin, have been really good with the challenge system so far. What impact do you expect this to have once we get into the season?
Oh, gosh, if these guys keep going like this, these 2 catchers, and most teams, if not everyone, is going to restrict their pitchers from, challenging, and it will be catchers. But these guys keep going at this clip, they can affect a lot of close calls. And believe me, they are close. There's a couple where you're like feeling bad for the umpire because they're like, that wasn't obvious, or it was, like a 0.2 of an inch outside or something. Gosh, it's, from game to game, there's going to be some games. Undoubtedly, there's going to be some games where it's huge. An umpire is way off. And then I'm thinking most nights it's not a big deal. I'll be really interested how many nights, because teams are going to want to save them to a certain extent too. And so how many nights does a team not even challenge any? We all get on the umpires. They're pretty good. I mean, most of them are. There's going to be some guys who are going to be embarrassed this year.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, everyone gets on umpires, to your point. They are better than most. And if we were trying to do that job, it is not easy at all. With the velocities and what they're asked to do, each batter having a different strike zone. I mean, you can only imagine being back there. And you're being asked to call a ball or a strike on 300 pitches. Like, yeah, I mean, of course you're going to miss some of them. Like
and that's why this is great that we're going to this. Exactly. And I do think it will be interesting. And I'll talk to more guys about it and probably write about it this spring. Is how might it be expanded? What are there some ideas there? Can you add on later in games? I mean, like this was probably a work in progress.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Kevin Ace, who's our Padres insider, back with us here on San Diego Sports 760. So there's been obviously some discussion about where Fernando Tatis Jr. ultimately will hit in this lineup. How do you see, he's hit a lot leadoff. Obviously last year, I think all games but 5. Only 5 times did he start a game and not lead off. And I think he hit cleanup in those 5 games. He's batted, in a lot of spots, obviously, over the course of his career. What impact do you see it making on either Tatis or the collective? If he's not hitting leadoff and he's hitting cleanup and he's protecting Manny Machado, what could that mean for Tatis? What could that mean for this team?
And Tatis has at least as good a year or better than, he last year is what we're kind of assuming there. I think it could be really big. He's going to have to be better. He's just going to have to, he was really good much of the year for all the mechanical changes and, little funks that he went in. He was pretty good getting on base last year, and that's not going to be his role, right? It's going back to being Tatis. Yep. So that is that's the wild card there. I'm not a huge break down the batting, the lineup and stuff. There are times when it does matter and it can make a big difference. And I absolutely see the logic in this. I might even grow to prefer it as I think about it more, because it did sort of catch me off guard that Toddy would be that low. But John, I don't know. Maybe you should have saved this for the podcast, bro, and we could talk about it. For 20 minutes or something, because there's a lot of ways this could go. If Tatis hits 30 homers and he's going, 30 doubles and all that, that's big. And for Manny Machado's sake, you hope that's who he is, because, Manny, that would help Manny hitting in front of him as well. And it would be gigantic for the Padres.
It's interesting because now you're walking me down this path of well, what if they did hit him cleanup all year? And if he was an identical hitter or near identical hitter to last year, what would that really say? It's like I'm under the impression that, listen, as a leadoff hitter, your mentality is a little different. You're asked to do different things, which is completely reasonable that maybe your power production goes down. You see more pitches, you walk, you set the table. But obviously, as a cleanup hitter, you drive guys in. I'm just kind of walking down a path. I'm kind of assuming that the numbers improve if you bat him cleanup as opposed to leadoff. But I don't know if that's a fair assumption to make or not with Fernando Tatis Jr. because it's been a while.
Here's why I think it could be a fair one. Because even though Tatis kind of blows it off and says, "Oh, my approach is the same. I can hit anywhere."
Yep.
Other people in the organization say that Tatis changed his approach last year, and that's a compliment, right? To a certain extent, right? Like he was being asked to be the leadoff hitter. To more than others say hitters maybe, Tatis just being Tatis is fine in the leadoff spot, but there were times Tatis was trying to get on base, and he did change things. And like I do think that he would be a different hitter. Plus, if there's guys on base, that can change things too, versus, how often, not only leading off the first inning, the guy led off a lot of other innings or came up with 2 outs because the bottom of the order till Ramon Laureano showed up was horrible. So, as long as Merrill, I assume Bogarts, maybe it's Laureano up there sometimes, or they got to break it up with the lefty, Merrill, Machado are getting on base, that should change things for Tatis.
Yeah, I think that's well said. So Sungmoon Song, among the notable additions this offseason, he debuts this past weekend. Ultimately, once we get into the season, how do they envision potentially using him?
Depending on how he's hitting, right? Could be in there a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Left-hander, facing righties, could be. If he's not, we're talking about a really good glove and a guy who probably plays third, maybe some short, second, but the hitting is the key. And we'll see. I don't see how anyone could be overly optimistic about a guy coming over from the KBO. Yep. And coming in right away, tearing up Major League Baseball. We're talking about AA to the majors.
Yeah.
So,
which is So I agree. I completely agree. And I just think back to Hassan Kim, where it felt like he needed some seasoning. He was a good player in San Diego, but it also took a period of time. And I don't know how Sungmoon Song ultimately will compare as a hitter to Hassan Kim. It's probably not fair to either of them. I guess we'll just watch how it plays out. But I'm kind of with you. Like, my expectation for 2026 wouldn't be for him to exceed an expectation. It would be for him, hopefully, to maybe live up to expectation or just be a versatile defender. That's how I kind of see him at least fitting in initially.
And that's why, you sign with this 4-year contract and that's why you do it. And, you're kind of going long-term, and I've written about how there's some long-term possibilities as certain players get older or maybe certain players leave. You need to get some time in left field too. But yes, I think you're right. As a realistic expectations. And if he lives up to them, hey, that was a good first year for a versatile bench player. But we're talking, again, AA without the velocity is what the KBO is.
Final one, Kevin, before you go, is just based on the schedule for the players appearing in the WBC. They're basically in camp through this week, and then they'll be going. When do the players like Machado, Tatis, others leave for their WBC roles?
I got to check on this, but I think those guys that are going to the DR, or like if Yuki had gone, he probably would have gone Saturday. I'm almost certain that the Dominican Republic is training in Santo Domingo, so I think those guys are leaving Sunday. The other guys are local; they're leaving Monday. So could be a reliever, and we're talking about relievers now. They could appear on Sunday and then head out to Mesa or Scottsdale, or I think the Netherlands is Xander Bogaerts is in Florida, and so maybe he's leaving Sunday as well. But so through this week, and then they're gone for ostensibly at least 2 weeks, and it just depends on how far they go.
And again, I mean, it's not new to Major League Baseball, but it's still relatively new. But it'll be interesting to watch those games again without some of these players. But then again, that's how spring training is, right? They go on the road. You don't bring regulars with you. They play at home. You see some of the regulars for a handful of innings. And I guess it'll create opportunities.
It's a good thing, right? There it is. The opportunity for these guys, but then also creates a challenge for teams, which are always cautioning, let's not read too much into spring training results, right? So, that will be good, though, because one thing they'll get is some of those guys will be able to, those guys trying to make the club or that you thought don't really have a shot, will be starting and facing good pitchers. So that'll be cool. If you're into that kind of thing, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Padres fans are. Again, I think the competitions are, a part of spring training that doesn't necessarily play out in other sports. And yeah, we'll see what kind of storylines evolve over the next handful of weeks. But Kevin, appreciate you taking time for us, and I hope all is well. We'll do it again at some point later this week.
Right on, man. See ya.
All right. Again, our Padres insider with us earlier today on San Diego Sports 760. We'll take a timeout. Brent's back, Page on the other side. This is San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. All right, back with you here live. What am I doing? Trying to figure this out. All right. Final few minutes on San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer.
That's going to be the name of my autobiography. What am I doing?
Trying to think what we have ahead this week. We've got a ton. We have Aztec basketball, obviously, Wednesday night. We've got
Lakers tomorrow night.
We have Lakers tomorrow night. We have tons of giveaways for you this week. 9 Inch Nails, BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells.
Starting tomorrow, we'll have Aztec UNLV tickets
Senior
for
night.
next
Thank
week.
you for a week from now. Thank you. So tons of giveaways this week. We'll be with you all week long. Tomorrow beginning at 2 p.m. But right now, let's get to this.
We're going to start with a cool like souvenir item that they have at the Minnesota Timberwolves games.
Okay.
Do you remember Pop Shot basketball, John?
Of course.
The little, remember it's like the little mini arcade basketball game that they would sell as a kid where you had like the little
like
little
lever?
flipper thing, and you put the little ball in and then it just kind of
Like
shoot
shoot
it in
into
the
the
little
bucket?
hoop.
Yeah.
Well, the Timberwolves made a miniaturized version of that, and they put it over the top of a souvenir cup.
That's awesome.
So imagine you have like your cup of Coke Zero, whatever it is that you're drinking. On top, it's got like a covered plastic dome on it, and then it has a little basket and the Timberwolves logo on the floor, and then it's got like a little basketball, and then right on like the edge, it has like a little flipper thing, so you can actually
awesome.
shoot baskets with your little souvenir cup at the Timberwolves game.
So this is just like available at T-Wolves games?
Yeah. Yep.
How much is that?
They didn't have a price in there. They just said that it's just a souvenir Pop Shot cup that you can get at Timberwolves games.
Interesting.
I can
All right.
imagine
I like
it's too much just because, like I said, it's not like a full thing. They're probably already overcharging you for the soda or whatever is in it. So I can't imagine it's too much, but yeah, Google it, cause it's pretty cool in terms of just, fun in-house, like type of souvenir things.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
better than just, oh, look, you get a cup with, Kevin Garnett on it or something. I'd rather have something like
Remember,
this.
like when we were kids, also like the movement on the cup, like what's that called? Like a card that, like, depending on
the
angle,
hologram,
like a hologram cup, they'd have souvenir plastic cups. I loved the ice cream helmet.
Oh yeah,
Like whether
still
that
have
was Dairy Queen but also at a ballpark.
I said they still do it at Petco.
Those are great.
I have a Padres one.
Yeah,
because fun fact, if you go there on your birthday, you get a free helmet.
Is that right?
Of ice cream. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
That's where I got my Padres one.
That's
I went
interesting.
there on my birthday like 4 years ago.
Interesting. What else you got?
Have you ever been on a cruise, John?
You know what? I never have. I've never had a big interest in it. There's something about being on a boat out in the middle of the ocean where I'm like, what if something goes wrong? Not with the boat, but like, what if I get sick? So it's never been overly appealing to me. And not to say I wouldn't, I've just never been on one.
I have a friend who's a big cruise guy. Him and his new wife, they've been on a bunch of cruises. Jorge, that works over on Kogo, he is like a big cruise guy. If you don't have time, don't ever ask him about cruises because he'll go on and on about how great they are. Well, Norwegian Cruise Lines have pissed off some of their customers because they started a dress code for the ship. Now, you might be saying, oh, come on, a dress code for, a cruise ship. It's not for the entire ship. It's only for certain restaurants that are on the ship.
Right.
And the dress code is just saying they've banned shorts and flip-flops. So if you're going to go eat and,
like dine.
Yes. And a lot of these cruises, they have, multiple restaurants and everything on there because these boats are huge. Yeah. So a couple of these restaurants are like, look, we don't want people with shorts and flip-flops. You want to come down here and eat?
Put on shoes.
Just put on shoes and some pants.
Yeah.
You don't have to throw on a tuxedo or anything like that, but just no flip-flops and no shorts.
Have people lost their minds?
Yes, of course they have, because these days any simple request is met with outrage, and people they're calling the dress code idiotic, and they're not very happy with it. And it sounds like Norwegian doesn't really care, so they're pretty much just saying.
I mean, on one hand, people are on a cruise, so you're thinking lax vibe, you have the shorts and the t-shirt and the flip-flops. But on another hand, if you're going to a steakhouse, right?
It sounds like, they have restaurants. If you just want to go get a burger or some fish or something and your flip-flops and, your open, Jimmy Buffett shirt or whatever cruise attire you have on, you can go there. Yes,
at the Ruth Chris Norwegian, you're going to have to put on pants.
It's just like 97% of the ship, you can wear whatever you want to within reason. Pool, but just these three places on the whole ship, you can't do that. Now they're losing their minds.
That's hilarious.
So.
Okay. Got anything else?
And then finally, there's a bunch of stuff, which is good because I'll carry over into tomorrow. Do you know what Supreme streetwear is?
I don't know if I do or not.
I couldn't name it, but you would know their logo.
Like the brand, you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because I see their logo, on wrestling rings and, just sports endorsements like crazy. Well, streetwear company Supreme, who's been known for their outside the box collaborations over the years.
Okay.
They have recently released a preview of their spring summer 2026 collection.
Mm-hmm.
And among the plethora of offerings includes a life-sized boxing ring.
Life-size? Like
yes,
an actual
boxing ring. The collaboration with sports equipment company Everlast, which is a big boxing company, features a 20-foot competition grade ring complete with custom pads, ring skirt, canvas, ropes, and stools. They said expect this to be extremely limited because the price is going to be upwards of 10 grand plus.
10 grand.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you got, 10 grand just laying around, burning a hole in your pocket,
not on that,
and you want to buy a, authentic life-size boxing ring to,
maybe Sammy Long
boxing on. Yeah.
He's more into it, right?
They could do the boxing podcast live from the ring.
Yeah, that would actually be some really good publicity. Okay, if you missed anything today, you can check out sportssd.com or the iHeartRadio app or iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Spotify. Again, we're back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Looking ahead to that big Wednesday night clash between San Diego State and Utah State, plus the latest from Peoria in Padres spring training. All right, we've got Houston and Kansas Big 12 hoops action on the other side. And Alan Sliwa was here earlier and Sammy Long for Brent Sperry. I'm John Schaefer. Keep it here. Houston and Kansas up next on San Diego Sports 760.